Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook, Reincarnated Dragon. Obtain 12 talismans at the beginning. Chapter 61. Facing the dumb deer-headed spirit, the monsters were powerless and had no choice but to give this guy to their owner. Deer-headed spirit. When Caesar saw the deer-headed spirit, he was also a little surprised. A mere deer-headed spirit dared to appear alone in the sky where monsters gathered. He definitely had the support of his master behind him. The moment he saw the giant dragon, the deer-headed spirit clung to the ground in fear and did not dare to move. The faint dragon power emanating from the red dragon made it nervous and unable to relax. Master, the Wolf Fang tribe is willing to be a sharp blade in your hands. Please let us explore this layer of rock. We promise to give you a satisfactory answer. Woz knew his chance had come. The Lilia tribe who joined later must do something big if they want to gain the trust of their master's eyes, so that the master can be happy. Only then can he completely integrate into the Red Dragon clan. The master has just arrived at Bedrock and knows nothing about Bedrock. A slave must be there to help the master obtain information. Gnolls are a good choice. Woz, there are some things that are rewarded if you do them well and punished if you don't do them well. Can you understand? Caesar stared at Woz closely. The scarlet dragon pupils made Woz swallow in fear. Then he suppressed his composure and said, I understand. Master, I have prepared the awakening. Very good, then take your wolf cub and set off to find out who is behind this deer-headed spirit. With a casual kick from Caesar, the huge body of the deer-headed spirit rolled in front of Woz. Woz hurriedly called to the jackals around him to swarm forward and get the deer-headed spirit out. Master, the Tauren of the Alistar tribe can do it as well. Alistar's reaction was not as fast as Woz's. When he reacted, the task was snatched away by Woz. I understand you, Alistar, but the Tauren are not suitable for this. You have more important tasks. Caesar shook his head. The use of the Tauren in this matter is simply overkill. Charging on the battlefield is where the value of the Tauren lies. Lair Rock. This is our chance, wolf cubs. Victory or defeat depends on this. Woz told the jackals about the importance of this task. The jackals were waiting in full formation one by one. He stepped forward and sniffed the deer-headed spirit with his sensitive nose, hoping to rely on the scent of the deer-headed spirit to find its lair. If it were just a deer-headed spirit lair, the jackals could destroy it with their own strength. If the deer-headed spirit has a powerful master as its background, it won't be too late for the jackal to come back and report the news. Set off, Woz said enthusiastically. He seemed to be able to see the image of his master rewarding him after returning from this mission. It's so exciting. If you bring too many gnolls, you will be easily detected in advance. Woz only brought 10 elite jackals with him this time. A mere deer-headed spirit can be captured at your fingertips. Each jackal has a portable crossbow attached to his arm, which is used to shoot enemies in the sky. Kaza walked at the front of the team, using his sense of smell to lead the team. When the jackals are taking action, Kled went to explore the forest and made a new discovery. He happily returned to the dragon's lair with the news. Master, someone, Kled said excitedly. People, Caesar raised an eyebrow. In a place where such monsters gather, are there any traces of humans? Yes, Master, we saw traces of human carriages in the Karoo forest not far away. Many of them are brand new. We suspect that humans often pass by here. Kled spoke of his discovery. This means that if you settle here, if you don't find a way to destroy the human road, people will continue to pass by here. Once the existence of the master is discovered, it will definitely trigger a crusade from humans. To this day, the monsters still adhere to the idea that their master is not yet an adult and is just a young dragon. It is easy to be surrounded and suppressed by humans. Does this mean that there is a human trade path here? That's not right. If there is a trade route here, so will the deer-headed spirit have a master. Being able to become the master of a deer-headed spirit will definitely not allow weak humans to pass through their territory. This is undoubtedly a provocation to any leader-level monster. But humans have done this and haven't been stopped yet. Does this mean that there is no master behind the deer-headed spirit? Flying in his own territory before was just an accident. Never mind, don't think so much. Anyway, Woz has already taken the jackals to investigate, and what he has to do now is to clean up this group of humans. This is your own territory. Even if there are still humans passing by in the future, they must leave money to buy them. Fill your coffers. Cled, inform Alistar and ask him to lead the Tauren to destroy the roads where humans pass. As long as there is destruction from the Tauren, humanity will have to change its course unless they join forces to destroy the Tauren. But he will definitely take action when the time comes. Clear. The other side. Alistar was extremely happy when he learned that he had a mission. This was the first mission given to him by the master of the Red Dragon clan. With a serious face, Alistar led 10 Tauren elites, blocking the road of human trade like a small hill. When the wandering Tauren saw the human carriage, they rushed forward to destroy it without saying a word. The carriage was dismantled and piled up next to it. The people in the carriage, regardless of gender, old or young, were mercilessly killed by the Tauren. Alistar put the treasure in a package alone and waited until night fell before returning it to its owner. Lair Rock. That's right, this is definitely here. Leader Waz and the deer-headed spirit are definitely here. Kaza stood up and pointed to the huge mountain peak above his head. Below the mountain peak was a huge dark cave. The hole is so deep and dark that a jackal cannot see the inside clearly. The diameter of this huge hole is hundreds of meters. It is difficult to imagine what kind of creature dug it. The deer-headed spirits on the peaks overhead circled and chirped. They seemed to notice the gnolls below, opened their sharp talons, flapped their wings and sent out a signal of expulsion above their heads. Waz clenched his right hand into a fist, and the elite jackal men immediately prepared the crossbows on their arms, watching every move of the deer-headed spirit nervously. Although the deer-headed spirits are no match for the jackals, with so many deer-headed spirits, just relying on these few of them is really a bit thrilling. Waz even regretted bringing so many gnolls here. There are so many deer-headed spirits. Kaza, the situation is not right, let's retreat first. Keeping the green hills, you don't have to worry about having no firewood. Waz knows this truth very well, and survival is the most important thing. The jackal man looked at the deer-headed spirit head-on, his body slowly retreating step by step. The deer-headed spirits did not attack them, but just gave them a cold look. Until they disappeared in front of the deer-headed spirits, the deer-headed spirits did not catch up and attack. This made the jackals, who broke out in cold sweat, look like they were surviving the disaster. Very good. Survived. His grandma has so many deer-headed spirits. It was a miscalculation. Waz cursed. Chief Watts, what should we do now? Kaza asked. The origin of the deer-headed spirit is known. The problem is that it is still unknown whether there is an owner behind the deer-headed spirit. Telling the master the full news is all I can do now, but looking at the huge cave, I always have a bad feeling. Was to save his own life. I decided not to take the risk. Let's take Kaza and the jackals away first and return to their own camp. Dragon's Lair. Night falls. After Caesar educated Elenia, he did not use the horse charm to treat her. She had to let her learn the taste of the lesson. Otherwise, it will feel like nothing happened every time. Do you really think you are vegetarian? The Dragon's Lair was transformed into 2 floors by Zeiss. The first floor is where I usually sleep, and it is also the area where monsters discuss with me. The second level is your real private territory, and no monsters are allowed to enter it. Only his woman can enter. Level 1. As soon as Caesar walked up, he saw that Alistar and Waz had been waiting here for a long time at the same time. Has your matter been resolved? Caesar Electric Tail. A forbidden spell was assigned to the entrance to the second floor. Master, these are the treasures you want. I have killed all the humans. The corpses and the mutilated carriages were deliberately piled in obvious places to scare the humans. Alistar said, Master, I have something important to report here. As Alistar spoke, Waz immediately lifted the ball up. Report on Zonda. Tell me about it. Caesar was very interested. We follow the deer-headed spirit. Waz immediately told Caesar everything he had done before, not even daring to let go of any details. After hearing the huge hole described by Waz, Caesar said, Stop, are you sure that the hole is that big? Of course, absolutely true, my lord. Waz nodded. The jackal's brain is pretty good. I understand. In that case, let me come and see for myself what's under that cave. Caesar just had enough rest in the lair. It's time to take action yourself. Master, you want to take action yourself. How can this be possible? With your noble body, How can you personally go to that dirty and lowly biological area? Woz was startled. Oh, then you go. Ahem, Master, Ying Ming, I think it is most appropriate to go there with your indestructible body. Even if there are evil ancient gods there, they will not be your opponent. Woz was frightened by Caesar's words. Forget it. With his thin arms and legs, if he really wanted to go, he would definitely be eaten up by the deer-headed spirit and not even a scrap would be left. Snort. Caesar couldn't help but smile, and then said to Alistar, bring me back a few alive next time. Clear. We still have to capture a few humans and come over for interrogation. It would be even better if there are young and beautiful women. The taste of Alania is good, but it will always be a bit boring. Food must be diverse to be delicious. Especially the rice bowl, which he particularly loves to eat. Outside the dragon's lair, Caesar walked out with Woz and Alistar. Master, do you plan to take action tonight? Woz said unexpectedly. Find out the creatures in the mysterious cave as soon as possible so that you can sleep well, right? Caesar will not tolerate a powerful and mysterious monster hiding in his territory without showing up. But in terms of time, the monster hiding in the cave is the real owner of Lair Rock. His red dragon is just a latecomer. Good luck to you, my lord. After Woz's teasing from Caesar, he no longer dared to flatter him in a short period of time. What if you were really called to perform a task? The gain outweighs the loss. If only you were half as brave as your eloquence, Woz. Boom. The powerful air wave carried the sandstorm and rushed toward him, making Woz almost lose his balance. Fortunately, Alistar next to him held him up. In the night sky shining with stars, a red meteor appeared, attracting people's attention. In the sky, Caesar recalled the appearance of the deer-headed spirit lying in front of him. Using his own monkey charm and transformation technique, the dragon's body deformed as it flew, gradually shrinking in size. The strong limbs began to become smaller, and the dragon's scales covered with thorns turned into pieces of soft feathers. The dragon wings turned into the wings of the deer-headed spirit. It only took less than 30 to a minute for Caesar to transform into a deer-headed spirit. Even the breath of the dragon disappeared. This is the power of the combination of the rat charm and the monkey charm. A newly developed ability by Nishizawa. It's so slow. After transforming into the body of a deer-headed spirit, Nishizawa clearly felt that his speed was much slower. It's just too slow. Compared with the body of the giant dragon, no wonder the deer-headed spirit can be easily torn into pieces by the giant dragon. Now he understands the reason. Flying at high speed according to the route Woz said, the power of the rabbit charm is still comfortable. Mysterious cave. Bah! Nishizawa's appearance attracted the attention of the deer-headed spirit on the mountain. A group of deer-headed spirits came up and circled around Nishizawa. Nishizawa didn't take it seriously and just floated in the air calmly. If discovered, Caesar would kill all these deer-headed spirits without hesitation. The best way to infiltrate is to kill everyone so no one will find out. As if they sensed that there was nothing wrong with the scent on Caesar's body, the deer-headed spirits stopped surrounding him. The surrounding deer-headed spirits left, and Nishizawa began to fly toward the cave below. Seeing this, the deer-headed spirits did not stop him. It seems that I have already become accustomed to it. A dark cave. As soon as you enter, the dark vision belonging to the dragon takes effect. The environment that the jackals could not see clearly was clearly seen by Caesar. Inside the cave is a huge passage, with inverted spikes hanging above the head, which may turn into deadly blades at any time. When it comes to the inside, Liu Shoujing's body is not very suitable. Caesar once again turned into an ordinary giant eagle. The height of the passage is at least 100 meters, so there will be no obstacles to flying. As it goes deeper and deeper, Caesar finally saw some monsters. The monsters lay leisurely on the ground and slept soundly. There were all kinds of monsters from all races. Jackals, kobolds, chimeras, armored monsters, viper guards. Almost all are monsters from the evil camp. It seems that the monsters living down here are not kind. The movement caused by Nishizawa's giant eagle attracted the attention of some monsters below. Noticing the sight of the monsters, Caesar immediately became invisible. Before, he was worried that being invisible could not hide his dragon aura. Now, he first uses the monkey charm and transformation to transform, and then becomes invisible again. In this way, you can prevent your dragon aura from leaking and being discovered. Talismans must be used in combination to achieve maximum power. Keep diving. Nishizawa went all the way down, over the heads of monsters one after another, and was finally confronted by a huge forbidden demon. The forbidden magic is like a huge iron door, blocking Caesar's way. Magic is dragon magic, or forbidden magic of at least level 7 or above. Through this dragon magic, Caesar already knows the race of the master here. Dragon. Basically only dragons can use such large dragon magic. Even if other races mastered dragon language, the dragon magic they used would never have such strong elemental fluctuations. The only thing unclear now is what race the dragon living inside is. According to the relatives outside, there is no doubt that it is a 5-color dragon. It shouldn't be a metal dragon. Today's metal dragons basically live in groups on Dragon Island. It is rare for a metal dragon to establish its own power alone and have so many evil relatives. Caesar looked at it briefly before preparing to leave. This prohibits me from sneaking in silently, so I have to think of other ways. Friends from outside, since they are here, just stay. Just when Caesar turned around to leave. Boom. The huge magic restriction instantly shattered like a mirror, and a huge blue claw poked out. Caesar immediately revealed his figure and swung over with eagle wings. Boom. Caesar was repelled by the shock wave. The owner of this claw also felt uncomfortable and retracted his claws. Next moment, roar. The surging dragon roar came out and echoed in the huge underground kingdom. Countless sleeping monsters woke up in an instant, raised their heads and looked in the direction of the sleeping dragon. T. Thunder and lightning. A giant dragon mixed with lightning walked out of the lair. The indigo dragon scales became smooth and beautiful under the friction of the wind and sand, and there was a huge horn on its forehead. The dragon's scales rubbed the air, making the sound of lightning, and blue electric light intertwined on its body, making its whole body covered by thunderstorms. Several spikes extend from its nose to the back of its head, and its protruding lower jaw is covered with clusters of spikes. The vast dragon power spreads over it. The deep dragon eyes stared closely at the giant eagle in front of him, a giant eagle. Who are you? The owner here is surprisingly an adult blue dragon. Blue dragon could tell at a glance that the giant eagle in front of him was not that simple, and immediately thought of a spell in his mind, the transformation spell. The giant eagle in front of me is definitely the product of transfiguration. Otherwise, an ordinary giant eagle would not be able to withstand the pressure of the giant dragon. Caesar looked at the blue dragon without replying. The giant eagle's body began to expand little by little, and burning flames emerged from his body. The wings gradually turned into pieces of dark red dragon scales, and the dazzling red light carried the raging fire. Hard lava turns into the strongest armor. The ferocious dragon head spurted out scorching white mist, and the pungent sulfur rushed towards his face. The thick dragon tail swept away the rock pillar behind it, and the broken sand and stones hit the ground. The dragon's power, which is not weaker than the blue dragon's, spreads on the red dragon, forming a confrontation with the blue dragon's power. The dark cave lit up with a dark red light. When we met for the first time, we really didn't expect that a blue dragon would hide and sleep in this dark cave. Why? Caesar spoke in pure dragon language. He could tell at a glance that this blue dragon had just woken up from a deep sleep. Red dragon. You are so brave. Red dragon, didn't your mother tell you? Entering the territory of a giant dragon at will is a provocation to her. The blue dragon was a little stunned when he saw that Zeiss was a red dragon. Then, she felt like laughing. Judging from the size of the red dragon, Nishizawa is just a young red dragon. When did the young red dragon have the courage to sneak into the territory of the adult blue dragon? I was born without a mother. I really don't know this rule. Caesar said disdainfully. It turns out that he is a dragon cub without a dragon mother. No wonder he has no rules. Then let me tell you the rules. Blue dragon decided to deal with this Zeiss. She had just woken up from a deep sleep, and her temper was not very good at the moment. She was angry. Caesar needs to be used to vent his anger. Crackling blue thunder appeared on the blue dragon's body, like tentacles spreading their teeth and claws. The lightning shattered the rock and came to Caesar. Boom! In an instant, the red dragon's body was covered in flashing blue thunder. Taste the feeling of lightning, Young red dragon, this is the first lesson I teach you. The adult blue dragon taunted. Fortunately, I happened to wake up today, otherwise I would have been awakened by this red dragon while sleeping. It will take a few more years for me to complete the progression from youth to adulthood. Fortunately, everything is just right. Just when the adult blue dragon thought that Caesar was going to be taught a lesson by his own lightning. It was shocking to find that the young red dragon was bathed in his own thunder and lightning, with no sign of injury on his body. Are these your only methods? It's not painful or itchy. I'm really disappointed, blue dragon. With the power of the spell, the adult blue dragon's lightning could not cause any harm to Caesar. This is impossible. The adult blue dragon's cognition was simply subverted. Something is wrong. How could a young red dragon withstand his own lightning magic? Even an adult red dragon cannot show such a relaxed expression. It was as if his own lightning had no effect on him. The dragon's battle made the surrounding monsters stare blankly. Several monsters who wanted to step forward were unfortunately buried by the falling rocks. Nothing is impossible. Blue dragon, open your eyes and take a good look. On the ground, rumble. The entire layer of rock shook violently. The mountain peaks shook. Next moment, boom. A red and blue figure suddenly flew out from the ground. Nishizawa's 10-meter-long body looked a bit coquettish under Blue Dragon's 100-meter body. But at this moment, he grabbed the spikes on the Blue Dragon's chin and dragged her out of the ground. The huge Blue Dragon slammed into the mountain peak standing next to the cave entrance. The towering mountain peaks shook violently, causing the deer-headed spirits living on top to fly away one after another, letting out dangerous calls. Pieces of broken rock fell from the mountain peak and hit the two giant dragons. Dust slid across the dragon's smooth scales. CCC. Roar. The blue dragon was thoroughly enraged. Although Caesar's new burst of power surprised her, it didn't mean that she would be afraid of Caesar. It is simply a fantasy for a mere young red dragon to want to fight against an adult blue dragon like himself. The body of the adult blue dragon reached an astonishing 100 meters, much larger than Nishizawa, the 10-meter-long juvenile red dragon. There is a clear difference in body shape between the two. The blue dragon's huge claws directly grabbed Caesar's waist and threw the red dragon that was stuck to his chest violently. Boom! The flying red dragon hit the huge rock, and the rock behind it shattered instantly. Is this all your power? The blue dragon's attack did not cause any damage to Caesar. But I have to say that the blue dragon's lightning magic just now was really strong. Just the magic to resist lightning cost Caesar a lot of magic points. The higher the damage received, the greater the magic value consumed by the Caesar dog spell and horse spell. Fortunately, I used evil points to increase the magic value. If it were in the same state as when it was in Melee Town, it would definitely not be able to withstand the destruction of an adult blue dragon. Besides, adult dragons not only have powerful attack methods, but also various restraint methods. Even if I can't kill you, there are 10,000 ways to restrain you. There is no way to avoid control of the 12 talismans. Blue intertwined lightning surrounds the blue dragon, and the black environment flashes with blue light. There's something wrong with you. Tell me, are you a mutated dragon? The blue dragon looked at the red dragon who had no injuries and expressed his guess. Alien dragon refers to a giant dragon with two bodies. On the surface, it is the body of a dragon, but its soul is not. It is a special kind of dragon. This type of dragon has an obvious characteristic, that is, it is more powerful than a pure dragon. Each and every one of them has a perverted level of talent. But these giant dragons don't live long. Will be discovered by Tiamat Dragon Queen, and then kill it personally. No one else, because it is said that many alien dragons favored by Dragon Queen Tiamat will betray her in the end. This gradually changed Tiamat's love for the alien dragon to disgust. You guess. Caesar chuckled. He looked up and down at the female blue dragon in front of him. This is truly a small horse and a big cart. I don't care if you are, but I will make you understand the consequences of offending an adult dragon. The blue dragon seemed to feel the aggression in Zai's eyes. She hated this feeling. Flashing thunder and lightning shot out from the horn above her head, and the overwhelming power grid made it impossible for Nishizawa to escape. The moment Nishizawa was about to be hit by the electric grid, he disappeared. The power grid bombarded the rocks, causing sparks to flicker and thunder to go nowhere. Gone. Blue Dragon was stunned. She could smell the red dragon's scent in the air. But his own eyes could not see the figure of the other party. Is this some kind of high-level hidden magic? The blue dragon looked around. As a 5-color dragon and a red dragon, are you planning to hide nearby and not come out? This is not the style of a red barbarian. Boom. The words just fell. Caesar suddenly appeared next to Lan Long and punched her in the face without any warning. The blue dragon was shaken by the heavy force. After this punch, Caesar became invisible again. I am going to kill you. The blue dragon was enraged. The lightning continued to spread around her, spreading out for more than 1,000 meters in the blink of an eye. With a power grid full of current, the invisibility of the Nishizawa snake talisman was easily seen through by the blue dragon. The snake charm can only hide the figure, and has no other effect. Caesar was not surprised by this. He just wanted to test whether the snake charm was effective when facing a powerful opponent. Now it seems that it is indeed not effective. Confirmed my previous conjecture. Fortunately, he was not stupid enough to use the power of the snake charm to wander around human cities, otherwise he would have been discovered long ago. You can't run away. The blue dragon became angry with shame. The two giant dragons struggled together again. Relying on the power of the ox talisman, Caesar is no weaker than the blue dragon. The two sides fought back and forth. Sometimes Caesar held her down, and sometimes she held him down. The noise caused by the fight between the two giant dragons caused the entire rock layer to shake continuously. Countless monsters ran out of the cave. They want to help their majesty the blue dragon defeat the hateful red dragon in front of them. The problem is that they can't get involved in the battle between giant dragons. Some monsters who wanted to intervene were crushed to death when the dragon turned around, losing their lives in vain. The movement here attracted the attention of the Red Dragon clan. Waz cleverly guessed that this was the movement caused by his master, and quickly told Alistar the news. Without saying a word, Alistar led the monsters and rushed towards the direction of the sound. Just arrived at the scene. They monsters were all stunned. Ahead, one red figure and one blue figure were entangled together. The towering mountain peak above their head had been broken off, and it hit the ground vertically, sinking more than 10 meters, and became an inverted triangular pyramid. The dragon scales on the giant dragon were beaten everywhere, but without the dragon's dragon transformation spell, the dragon scales on this group of monsters would have no effect. With the regenerative properties of the Annihilator Nergigante, Nishizawa simply turned off the power of the horse talisman and used the dog talisman to protect himself from death. After the dragon scales on the body were torn off by the blue dragon, sharp thorns immediately appeared, which even caused the blue dragon a little pain. What kind of monster is this? There are thorn-like dragon scales all over the body. Once they are destroyed, new ones will immediately grow out. Especially the sharper diamond thorns on Nishizawa's back, even an adult blue dragon can feel an aura of destruction. What a big blue dragon. This is an adult blue dragon, right? Our master is so powerful. Waz is a new monster added. I have never understood Caesar's strength, I only think that Caesar is a pretty powerful red dragon. Now it seems that it is more than good. With a boy's body comparable to that of an adult, if the master waits until he reaches adulthood, he can't even imagine how powerful Caesar can be. That should be the blue dragon monster, let's go. Crush them. In the battle between the masters, Alistar thought that he could not interfere with the people. But there are still a group of blue dragon monsters in front of them. At the same time, the descendants of the blue dragon also noticed Alistar, and their thoughts were the same as those of the red dragon clan. If you can't interfere in the dragon's war, then kill the other party's dependents. Kill them, chop their bones. For the clan. Long live your majesty Dilina. Long live his majesty Caesar. The other party shouted out his majesty's slogan, and Waz felt that he couldn't show weakness on his side. Nishizawa is no longer called master, but his majesty. Monsters from both sides fight. Alistar was the first to bear the brunt, grabbing a kobold and smashing it to the ground, and then stepped down hard with the Minotaur's hammer like iron hooves. The kobold's brain shattered instantly, blood splattered everywhere, staining Alistar's hooves red. This group of weak kobolds were no match for the Tauren. They were beaten by the Tauren and had no chance of fighting back. The iron axe, which was bigger than the kobolds, was wielded by the Minotaurs, harvesting the lives of the kobolds wantonly. Noting the bravery of the Tauren, the Chimera is a large monster with 3 heads. From right to left are dragon head, lion head and sheep head. The body is that of a lion, with a pair of dragon wings and a dragon tail. He has a very high dragon bloodline. Very powerful. The addition of chimera caused the tauren to stop their progress. The huge size is not inferior to that of the tauren, and the wings behind it are spread out, even bigger than the tauren. The chimera leader's lion head opened its bloody mouth and bit Alistar's arm. The sharp teeth pierced Alistar's thick skin, and a trace of bright red blood seeped out. Alistar, who was in pain, raised his other fist and hammered the chimera's lion head. Unexpectedly, the other heads of the chimera attacked him. Especially the dragon head opened its crimson mouth, and a hot breath slowly gathered. Chimera possesses the red dragon's flame breath. Although it is not as powerful as the red dragon, it is enough to deal with other ordinary monsters. Oops. Alistar knew that if he was hit by the breath of fire, he would definitely feel uncomfortable. You seem to need help, dear Chief Alistar. Just when Alistar was helpless. Cled flew to Alistar's side, regardless of his own danger, and hugged the chimera's dragon head, which was about to breathe out flames. Forcibly twisting the direction of the dragon's head, aiming the chimera's dragon eyebrows at the enemy not far away. Next moment, fiery fire spurted out from the chimera's dragon head, and the merciless flames swallowed up the group of enemies, causing them to howl miserably. When the chimera leader saw that his companion was injured, the sheephead next to him wanted to bite Cled. Alistar took advantage of this opportunity to break free from the shackles of the lion's head, picked up the giant axe on the ground, and pointed it at the chimera's sheephead and chopped it off with all his strength. Puff! Roar! The chimera roared like a lion, and the sheep's head fell off, causing it to suddenly burst into power. Cled was thrown away from the dragon's head. The blood flowing from the neck was like a spring constantly bubbling blood-red water, dyeing the yellow-brown land under the feet red. Alistar takes advantage of the victory and pursues it, using his tauren talent to charge. The collision combined with the force generated by the giant axe cut off the lion's head in the middle of the chimera again while it was in pain as it lost one of its heads. The chimera staggered and fell to the ground, its proud dragon head being stepped on by Alistar's hooves and unable to move. Cled stood up and said excitedly, "It's my turn now." Finished. Without saying a word, Cled picked up his weapon and pretended to cut off the last remaining dragon head of the chimera. It's a pity that the dragon head is too hard. Cled slashed the sword in his hand until it curled, and finally cut off the chimera's head. During the process, Chimera was in great pain. Although Cled slashed for a long time, it was indeed a good way to torture his opponent. If I had known earlier, I should have changed my weapon. Your tauren's giant axe is better. Cled cursed. It's simply a disgrace. If you can carry it, I can give it to you. Alistar handed Cled the axe in his hand. Forget it, it's you who has to carry such a heavy axe. Cled waved his hand. How could he wield an axe that was taller than him as a weapon? Far away, the dragon's battle still continues. The blue dragon grabbed Zeisa's body and kept hitting the sandstone. The smashed dragon scales flew everywhere, giving birth to hard thorns. What kind of freak are you? Blue Dragon couldn't help but cursed angrily. Not only will the fallen dragon scales not expose the underlying skin, but they will also grow piercing thorns. Even if I read through the dragon inheritance, I have never encountered such a situation. This is not a power that a red dragon can possess at all. It is not as you said, I am a red dragon. The blue dragon felt that as soon as his hands were empty, Zeiss turned into a tiny mosquito and broke free from her claws. Then he suddenly flew in front of her, transformed into a giant dragon, and punched her pointed nose. Bang! Caesar's fist could not damage the adult blue dragon's defense, but it was a real humiliation. Blue Dragon felt extremely humiliated. I have never seen such a difficult opponent. Dust and sand are everywhere. The crackling blue lightning contrasts sharply with the red high-temperature flames. One red and one blue are constantly intertwined in the sandstorm. Blue Dragon, who couldn't stand it first, saw that Zeiss had such a powerful body. I can't stand it anymore. Decided to release the dragon's special skill, Breath. Thunder roared. Wisps of lightning emerged from the dragon's scales, converging towards the blue dragon's mouth. Crackling lightning echoed between heaven and earth. Seeing the blue dragon opening its mouth, Zeiss was not to be outdone and also opened his mouth. The diamond thorns on his back were gradually lit up, and the bright red light illuminated the night sky for a while. Roar! The two giant dragons released their breath at the same time. The lightning breath collided with the fire breath. Boom! An earth-shattering explosion sounded, and a powerful shock wave swept across. Caesar and Blue Dragon all flew away at this moment. Both giant dragons are like this. The monsters fighting around were even worse, like gravel in a hurricane, being blown around. Some unlucky monsters were smashed into meat patties by the rocks shattered by the shock wave. All the monsters on Nishizawa's side were hiding behind the tall torrent. If the sky fell, there would still be someone tall to hold them up. Pooh! The other side, Shizi, who was covered by the huge rock, crawled out from under the gravel, spit out the sand in his mouth, shook his body, and the king of sand slipped down. You're actually okay. The blue dragons were shocked. Previously, when Caesar faced various attacks from him, he was fine with it. Now even my breath has no effect. Is that all your power is? Caesar said with a nonchalant expression. In order to deal with this blue dragon, during the breath exchange just now, Caesar decisively added all the remaining evil points to the magic value. Now his magic value has exceeded an astonishing 3,000. You freak. The blue dragon was angered by Zeiss, and the two giant dragons struggled again. The situation of the monsters from the other clan is a bit worse. In the final analysis, Zeiss's background is not as good as that of the Blue Dragon clan. The monsters of the Blue Dragon clan not only have many races, but their number is dozens of times that of the Red Dragon clan. Even if there are strong Tauren here. As time went by, they were all defeated by the Blue Dragon clan. In desperation, Alistar could only do something that might anger his master, which was to let the monsters temporarily retreat to a safe area. It's not that they are not brave. It's because the gap in strength between the enemy and ourselves is too great. Once they are all killed in battle, won't all the family members of their master also die? In order to avoid this happening, Alistar could only do this. Even if he will be scolded by his master next, he must do this. Waz looked unwilling and helpless. The first battle in the Red Dragon clan was so frustrating. Not even a hint of the Null's bravery was displayed. If there were tens of thousands of jackals in his Wolf Fang tribe, they would definitely bite the opponent's flesh off hard. Nishizawa, who was fighting fiercely with the Blue Dragon, noticed the retreat of his family members. He was not angry at all about this, but felt that Alistar had given a very smart order. Otherwise, based on the strength of the monsters, staying here is simply courting death. If he dies, he will have to find his own team again. Then some time will be wasted. Time passed little by little. All the monsters from the Red Dragon clan retreated safely, while the monsters from the Blue Dragon clan did not dare to pursue them rashly, for fear that there might be some trap from the Red Dragon clan. The two sides were thousands of meters apart, and everyone's eyes were on the giant dragon fighting in the middle. Now, only the Master's battle and regiment can establish this victory. Over time, there was a slight white light on the horizon, and the dazzling morning light shot out from the horizon, piercing the dark earth and bringing light to the world. The moment it hit the sun, Caesar's body data gradually soared. The body grew several meters at a speed visible to the naked eye. His body size skyrocketed from 10 meters to 15 meters. Faced with Zeiss's sudden change, it was naturally impossible for Blue Dragon not to notice it. But the Blue Dragon didn't take it seriously. Didn't it just get a little bigger? Maybe this Red Dragon has some strange tricks. Played all night. The rock formations that were originally covered with mountain peaks were broken by the giant dragon and became a naked flat land. After this night of fighting, neither dragon showed any signs of fatigue. There is no doubt about the physique of the adult dragon. And with Nishizawa's dog talisman, he has a steady stream of energy and his body is always at its peak. The blue dragon was very manic, but could not cause any harm to Caesar. During this night, she tried all kinds of magic, but she couldn't cause any harm to Caesar. He had clearly knocked down Nishizawa many times. But except for the loss of a few dragon scales on his body, Caesar suffered no substantial damage at all. The blue dragon swore he had never seen such a disgusting red dragon. It's simply more disgusting than those adult red dragons. Can't you bleed? The blue dragon couldn't help but sigh. My body is not tired, but my mind is. It would be okay if Caesar was injured, but the problem is that Caesar was not injured at all. Not a drop of blood was shed. She really doubted whether Caesar was actually a dragon. Isn't it an undead creature created by some evil god? No, even undead creatures cannot bleed under their own attacks. Have you ever seen a god bleed? Caesar felt the power gradually rising in his body. There was excitement and madness in his eyes. Arrogance is constantly giving oneself strength. God, little red dragon, you are so arrogant. You actually claim to be a god. If His Majesty the Dragon Queen finds out about this, he will definitely skin you. The blue dragon mocked. A mere red dragon, still an underage red dragon, just thinks he is a god. It's so arrogant. You must know that on top of all the 5 color dragons, there is a dragon queen. Until she comes, our fight continues. Caesar continued his charge. It was like a cannonball hitting the blue dragon's chest with lightning speed. The impact on the chest caused Lan Long's chest to feel numb. With lightning in her eyes, she grabbed Caesar and started again. The monsters were stunned. What the blue dragon didn't know was that the sun was climbing a little bit. The sun seems a little hot today. It does seem to be a little bit. God, tell me, this is not a dream. A young red dragon can fight an adult blue dragon back and forth, who is dreaming. The monsters rubbed their eyes. Although they are all lowly creatures, it does not mean that they do not know common sense. The difference in strength between an adult dragon and an underage dragon is huge. Otherwise, Woz wouldn't have been a little disappointed when he found out that Caesar was an underage red dragon. Now he feels that he has made a profit. This is already the case for dragon masters at the juvenile level, but how about the masters at the adult level take off? The only pity is that as a jackal, I probably won't see that day. Unless the growth of his master is different from other ordinary dragons. Your body. Horror flashed in the blue dragon's eyes. Just now, Caesar's body expanded again, from 15 meters to 30 meters, reaching a size that only a young red dragon could have. 50 meters is the limit for a young red dragon. If you want to continue to grow, you must advance to an adult dragon through deep sleep. Nishizawa, who had only reached the height of the blue dragon's claws, now reached the lower body of the blue dragon. Roar. As time goes by, the fire on Caesar's body became more violent, and countless sparks flew on his body. The scorching heat distorted the surrounding space. The blue dragon finally panicked. Don't panic ahead, that's because Caesar's strength is here. Even if he can't kill Caesar, at least he can't pose any danger to himself. It's different now. She could feel the faint sense of crisis in Nishizawa. All kinds of magic were thrown out from the blue dragon. Nishizawa forced himself to withstand the blue dragon's attack with his own body and came straight to the blue dragon. Fight hand to hand with the blue dragon again. I'm going to tear you apart. Blue dragon didn't dare to take it lightly anymore. He grabbed Zaiza's dragon wings with both hands, trying to tear off the pair of dark red dragon scales. But as soon as he put his claws up, he was stung by the stings on his wings. At this time, the blue dragon discovered that the thorns that had only numbed him before were now able to cause a little harm to him. This time, it was Nishizawa's turn to hug Lan Long's body, push her heavily to the ground, and hit Lan Long's chest. It's close to noon. Boom. Roar. Caesar's body changed again. At a speed visible to the naked eye, it expanded to 150 meters. The blue dragon's eyes widened. Not only the blue dragon, but also the surrounding monsters were stunned. Tell me honestly, is the owner just an adult dragon? Is he just hiding his clumsiness in front of him? Woz was stunned. I don't know. Cled, who had followed Caesar for the longest time, was also stunned. It only took one night to change from a juvenile body to an adult body. Who would believe it? I have never seen such a terrifying creature. If every giant dragon was like its owner, this continent would be renamed Dragon Continent. Blue Dragon, let's have some fun next time. I am the sun. Caesar showed a ferocious smile. The flames jumping on his body were like fire elves dancing on him, celebrating the birth of this evil dragon. The sharp spikes turned into obsidian, absorbing the brilliance of the scorching sun above their heads. The scarlet vertical pupils reflected the blue dragon's frightened figure, and the aura of destruction appeared around Caesar's body. The burning body seemed like red clouds dyed in the sky. The dragon wings covering the sky are like clouds hanging from the sky, blocking the blue dragon's sight. The thick black-red dragon horn crown swept back was worn on Caesar's head, highlighting his status as an emperor. The blue dragon had lost the courage to fight this time and stepped back. You, what kind of monster are you? As the boss of the 5-colored dragons. When an adult red dragon fights against other adult 5-color dragons, the winning rate is basically 100%. This means that if blue dragon wants to defeat Caesar at this moment, the chance is 0. No chance. The opponent who cannot be killed has also gained the power to suppress you. How desperate the blue dragon is at this moment. She regretted provoking Caesar. The blue dragon is not weak among the 5-color dragons, ranking second, but she met the eldest red dragon. To put it bluntly, Nishizawa can defeat the blue dragon in front of him even without the power of the talisman. Blue dragon, welcome your judgment. Caesar swooped down. The blue dragon wanted to defend, but it was too late. Caesar grabbed her neck and took her straight into the sky, arriving at an altitude of tens of thousands of meters. Without saying a word, he fell downwards. What are you doing, madman? The blue dragon seemed to have guessed something and frantically tried to break free. Blue dragon, have you ever heard of a trick? Throw on the earth. The corners of Caesar's mouth raised slightly. He wants to take blue dragon to experience the thrill of bungee jumping. Countless monsters looked up. Then he saw a giant meteor with a long tail of flames descending rapidly towards here. The experienced members of the Red Dragon clan were immediately ready to welcome their master. Quick, get down, get down, get down, get down and do it. Waz still doesn't understand what these monsters are doing. Cled kindly grabbed Waz and pushed him down on the ground. Then a deafening sound came to my ears. Boom. The eardrum seemed to be torn, and then an irresistible wave of power hit. All monsters, big or small, were rushed away at this moment. Even tall Tauren are like this, without exception. Thick sand splashed, instantly covering the monsters' bodies as they flew backwards. Ahead, in the deep pit hundreds of meters deep, it was burned red by the high temperature, and the rocks turned into lava. Diamond thorn trees stand on the ground, forming an indestructible steel cage. In the center of the cage, there are 2 figures, one blue and one red. A lot of the dragon scales on the blue dragon's body fell off and were scattered around. Its wings were pierced by diamond thorns and were nailed to the ground, unable to move. He was breathing heavily and panting. The red dragon pressing on her stepped on the blue dragon's chest with one claw, looking down at her. Blue dragon, now let's see who is teaching whom. You freak. Blue dragon said weakly. This impact from high altitude caused the blue dragon to suffer heavy damage. On the contrary, Zeiss, who landed with her, was still unscathed. As you said, I am a freak, blue dragon. Next, I, a freak, will enjoy my own trophies. Caesar leaned forward, exhaled hot breath, and got close to the blue dragon. What you up to? Blue dragon felt bad. You must have no objection to doing something that a mature dragon should do. No. You can't do this. The blue dragon would never allow Caesar to ride on him. But Shizawa would never give her a chance to resist. The 300-meter-long dragon wings spread out, and a dark restriction shrouded them, blocking the view outside. Blue dragon was very violent in resisting Zeiss, but in the face of absolute power, all blue dragon's resistance became in vain. What started as a roar gradually turned into bursts of dragon roars. Forcing the blue dragon, it is indeed an evil dragon full of yellow violence, and gets 3,000 evil points. Closing square bracket. The dragon's time is very long. The minute it reaches the peak of noon. The blue dragon suddenly opened his eyes wide. Outside. Ahem, I almost died in the dragon's battle wave. Waz dug himself out of the thick sand with his claws. Monsters that cannot be dug out will be buried alive underneath. HMPH. My nose and mouth are full of sand. Alistar came out next. Then there's Cled and Obi. The monster leaders are already relatively strong, so it is normal to select them. They raised their heads and looked at the black curtain in the center. Because the magic was restricted here, they could not clearly see the sights and sounds inside. So they still don't know who wins and who loses. But Waz and the others have full confidence in their master. An adult red dragon can defeat an adult blue dragon. Isn't it easy to catch it? All the monsters are looking forward to it, hoping that their master will win this victory. The fog shrouding the center obscured their eyes, preventing them from seeing clearly what was going on inside. Nervousness rose in my throat. I am afraid that my master will fail. While the monsters were watching this victory, the tension inside is completely different from the tension outside. The scorching sun above the head gradually turned into the setting sun, and the red sunset hit the monsters. Isn't the battle over yet? The naive monsters only thought that the battle between the dragons inside was still going on. I never imagined that this battle was a different kind of battle. I'm a little hungry. Waz touched his hungry belly and said, "Are you still in the mood to eat? If our master loses, we will not just be hungry." Obi said angrily. The defeated dragon found it difficult for his clan to escape death. Even if he is immortal, he will definitely be enslaved by the other party. The master has become an adult dragon. Logically speaking, it is impossible to fight for so long. Alistar wondered. There is still a big gap in strength between adult red dragons and adult blue dragons. Normally, the battle between the two giant dragons should have ended long ago. Shady magic. The blue dragon looked at the red dragon in front of him, who had returned to his teenage form with complicated eyes. She never imagined that her first partner would be an immature red dragon. After nearly a day of fighting, Blue Dragon probably guessed that the fact that Caesar had changed so much before was probably due to some kind of special talent of his. What a shame. The adult dragon was actually defeated by the underage dragon. Lan Long felt that he was completely humiliated. "Tell me your name, beautiful Miss Blue Dragon." Even though Caesar lost his arrogant power again, he was still the winner of this battle, looking down at the blue dragon from a high position. "At worst, we'll have to fight until noon tomorrow, and then repeat today's battle. HMPH, my dragon's real name is Delina Fisher Rock Prima." Delina turned her head to the side and said, "Delina, what a beautiful name." Caesar thought of the names of each goddess. "I hope that Delina in front of me will not disappoint me. Don't be sorry for this name. Red Dragon, don't think that just because you defeated me and took possession of me by force, you can conquer me. Let me tell you, you are still far from it." Delina's eyes were full of disdain for Caesar. Being defeated by a young red dragon was her nakedness. "You understand my strength very well, don't you, Delina?" Nishizawa's power at noon was the first time he achieved it without the help of 12 talismans. He defeated the adult blue dragon in front of him. "But your power is still very weak now." Delina didn't understand what the talent that Caesar possessed was. He can actually switch between weak and powerful at any time. Since she had only fought against Caesar once, Delina did not see the characteristics of Caesar becoming stronger as time went by. Delina slowly climbed up from the ground, shook her body, and shook out all the dust and sand in the gaps between the dragon scales. A faint electric current surrounded her body. Without the blessing of arrogance, Caesar's body shape was in huge contrast with Delina's. The adult blue dragon reaches a length of 125 meters, which is smaller than the adult red dragon. Caesar's 10-meter-long body was indeed very small for Delina, and she was easily thrown down. Caesar didn't care at all. "Alas, who let me be young? If I want to grow bigger, I have to rely on the power of arrogance to reach the size that a mature red dragon should have. If his foundation in the future is a prime age body, the increase brought by arrogance will only be more terrifying." Shaking off the sand and soil on his body, Nishizawa said, "I really didn't expect that there is a newly adult blue dragon hiding in a layer of rock. I never thought that a juvenile red dragon would dare to provoke an adult blue dragon." Delina said, "But didn't I succeed?" Caesar shrugged. Delina snorted lightly and did not refute. Indeed, Caesar succeeded. Not only did he not win, but his body was also taken away by she. As for whether she will be pregnant, Delina is not worried. The dragon's probability of pregnancy is very low. In addition, Caesar is an underage red dragon, so Delina believes that she will never become pregnant unless the Dragon Queen protects her. The darkness gradually dissipated. The monsters can finally see clearly what's inside. 2 giant dragons, one red and one blue, stood on the same spot. The red dragon returned to its previous size. Compared with the blue dragon Delina, who was like a mountain next to it, there was a big gap. But judging from the appearance, a large area of the dragon scales on Delina's body has fallen off, her aura is relatively weak, and she is no longer as high-spirited as before. On the other hand, Nishizawa still has that proud and brave attitude. Although her body is not as big as Delina's, her aura is much stronger than Delina's. Anyone with a discerning eye can see who the winner is. Your Majesty the Red Dragon. We won. Long live the Master. Red Dragon. Red Dragon. Red Dragon. The monsters shouted and cheered excitedly. Delina's clan monsters lowered their heads in despair and put down their weapons. Even Her Majesty Delina lost, so what ability do these monsters have to fight against each other? You are very strong, Red Dragon. I hope you are still alive when we meet next time, not dead. I will definitely avenge you. Delina left these harsh words and prepared to fly away in despair. Finally woke up from a deep sleep. As a result, she was defeated by Caesar in the first battle after waking up, which was a big blow to Delina. She planned to find a new territory, sleep well for a few more years, calm down her explosive mentality, and then go out to recruit family members again. Delina, did I say you could leave? If you lose to me, it is my trophy. You can leave without my permission. Caesar's words left Delina stunned. She turned around in disbelief and said, You want to restrict my freedom? No, I don't want to restrict your freedom, but you understand that now that you have lost, I want to take my spoils with me. Is there any problem with this? Besides, we have already had that kind of relationship. Strictly speaking, I am your partner. Caesar raised his head and looked at Delina. The size is just too small. You have to see if you can get the ability to make your body grow bigger quickly. I just happened to get 3,000 evil points from Delina. Sesazawa can bet on a big one. Companion, don't be kidding, Red Dragon, I lost to you, but I tell you, it's impossible for you to conquer me, W. Delina lowered her head and said fiercely. A mere young Red Dragon wants to be his partner. It's such a wishful thinking. 0. I must be crazy to ask you to be my partner. Delina, your only choice now is to be my partner or my vent, you choose. Delina is very strong in body and strength, and Caesar likes this in Delina. Otherwise, Delina would have been killed long ago, and there would be no chance for her. You are too domineering, Red Dragon. Domineering is synonymous with the Red Dragon, isn't it? Facing Delina's murderous gaze, Caesar was extremely calm. Again, the worst possible outcome is another fight. Another delay until noon. The time you have. Do you really want to do this? Delina was a little unwilling. She didn't want to stay here, especially with Caesar. Although eyes in front of her made her very comfortable, it was too embarrassing for her to surrender to an immature dragon while she was an adult dragon. If word spreads, how can she, Delina, still mess around? At that time, he will become the target of ridicule from every giant dragon. What do you think? Caesar took a step forward and responded to Delina with his own eyes. You will regret it, Red Dragon. Delina finally chose to stay. There was nothing she could do. Because she truly believed that Caesar had the ability to force herself to stay here. Instead of letting Caesar take action, he might as well take the initiative to agree and still save some face. You made the right choice, Delina. The corners of Caesar's mouth raised slightly. Okay, stop talking, Red Dragon, can you tell me your name now? Delina still doesn't know the name of the Red Dragon. Remember my true dragon name, my name is Caesar Fafnir Radon Nidhogg. Caesar flapped his wings and flew to the top of Delina's head, shouting his real name loudly and proudly. This moment, all the monsters knelt on the ground, looking up at the Dragon King. Delina's surrender naturally enveloped her own dependents. All the dependents were merged into the Red Dragon clan. The number of monsters in Delina is more than 30,000, which is a large number. It will take some time to sort out. Fortunately, Caesar can leave it to Waz and Alistar to do. Alistar used his strength to intimidate, while Waz used his mind. Inside the dragon's nest, Caesar took Delina to his lair. The lair used for the young dragon to rest was too small for Delina. Delina can only use transformation to shrink her body. The dragon's transformation technique is very strange. It can make its body smaller, but it cannot make its body exceed its current size. Entering the lair, Delina saw an elf and at a glance. Master, Ilenia was relieved to see Caesar. Just when I woke up this morning. Then he found that all the monsters including the owner Nishizawa were missing. Ilenia felt abandoned. It is a very sad thing to be abandoned by the hated Red Dragon. But she didn't know why. Her heart felt empty, as if something important was missing. You did a good job, Caesar. I didn't expect you to prepare a small snack for me. Maybe I like you a little bit. Delina's eyes lit up when she saw Ilenia. Elf. This is a rare delicacy. This made Delina mistakenly think that Caesar brought her into the lair to enjoy the elf. The favorability towards Caesar in my heart increased slightly. This is not for you to eat, Delina, she is my slave. Caesar stopped Delina, who had a huge appetite. If he hadn't stopped Delina, Delina would have swallowed Ilenia in one bite. Don't doubt an elf's allure to a dragon. Your slave. Why are you looking for an elf to be your slave? His body is so weak that it will be blown away when the wind blows. You might as well eat it. Delina was puzzled. He said he looked down upon the elves as a race. Elves are the dragon's food. Who would let food be their slave? Not even qualified to be a slave. You don't understand, Delina. Ilenia is very moist. Caesar stretched out his paw and gently stroked Ilenia's hair. Ilenia looked at Delina. Looking at the appearance of the blue dragon, she seemed to have guessed something. Compassion for each other. The look in your eyes tells me that you are thinking about something rude, elf. I'm different from you. Delina noticed Ilenia's eyes. Don't think of yourself as a slave, she is not a low-level slave like Ilenia. According to Nishizawa, it is a companion, yes, a companion. In short, he is not a lowly slave. Ilenia didn't say much, just looked at Zeiss and said, Master, where have you been before? After this period of time, Ilenia's attitude towards Caesar has changed a lot. But Caesar knew that all of this was Ilenia's disguise, and her heart had not yet completely fallen. The previous Lilia made her feel desperate when she was 30 years old, and the feeling of betrayal was not pleasant. That's why Lilia quickly regarded Caesar as her pillar of support. Ilenia is different, but Caesar doesn't care, because the method of dealing with Ilenia is still coming, and besides, love grows over time. We don't get along now, but as time goes by, we gradually get along. Delina, she is the owner of this layer of rock. I went to see her earlier. Some pleasant things happened between us. From now on, she will be my partner, layer of rock, hostess. Caesar gave Delina some face. He didn't say that he defeated Delina. But Ilenia is not stupid. She wants a blue dragon to become Caesar's partner, but the process is definitely not that smooth. She hadn't seen this battle with her own eyes. But she could really feel the vibration coming from the layer of rock. Ilenia didn't dare to look at such a terrifying movement. Now it seems that it was Shizawa who made the noise. Did you hear that, elf? I am the mistress, and I am also your master. Delina once again emphasized her status. He raised his head proudly and passed by Ilenia. When passing by Ilenia, he lightly shocked Ilenia with the current generated by his body, causing Ilenia's body to tingle slightly. Facing Delina's attack, Ilenia was helpless. As Delina said, her power is very weak and she doesn't even have the right to advocate for herself. Like a real hostess, Delina glanced at Caesar's nest. The nest is too small, Caesar, I need to become smaller to get in. Then come in small, Delina. Caesar did not give in at all. You are just the mistress of the clan, not the master. The master is still me, Zeiss. If you talk to yourself in this tone, you are lacking education again. Delina saw that Caesar disagreed and said nothing to Duo. After all, she was just a prisoner. I seem to smell other scents. Caesar, you have a dragon here. Delina sniffed. The dragon is very sensitive to the dragon's scent. Even though Carolina fell asleep early, there wasn't much of her breath left in the nest. Delina still smelled it. There is also a white dragon. Her situation is the same as yours. She was conquered by my own charm. Caesar said. Lena didn't expect to have a companion. White dragon. The 5-color dragon is the one holding back. To them, the white dragon is just a higher-level dragon beast. I really don't know why Her Majesty the Dragon Queen would include them in the ranks of giant dragons. They are not worthy of being compared with the 5-color dragons. Where is she now? Delina wants to meet. Ask how the white dragon was conquered by Zeiss. In all likelihood, just like him, he was defeated by Caesar with violent means and forcibly abducted. Tiamat only prohibits the fighting between dragons, but if the dragon captures the opponent, Tiamat does not care about this. As long as you don't kill the dragon, you can even use a slave contract, or even make the other party a fool. Tiamat cares about the number of dragons, not the quality of the dragons. Sleeping. Sleeping. She is going to advance into a mature dragon. No, it's to advance to youth. As soon as these words came out, Delina looked at Caesar in disbelief. I didn't expect that this red dragon would be so heart-wrenching and would not even let go of a young white dragon. What a chaotic and evil creature. No, they are 5-colored dragons themselves. But like Nishizawa, this is definitely the only one. Where can there be a dragon that is so cruel that it can even kill a dragon that has not reached adolescence? Your eyes are also very disrespectful, Delina. What I can tell you is that I did not do that. At least I will wait until she wakes up. Caesar said angrily. He also said that Elenia, you are not the same. What you do is none of my business. Delina glanced at Elenia. Elenia understood it and said, I'm a little hungry, let's go out and eat something. In the lair, Delina and Caesar were the only ones left. After Elenia left, Delina got right to the point and said, Tell me, Caesar, how many years of freedom are you going to imprison me for? These words really make Long a little sad. Elenia, am I so unattractive in your eyes? Caesar pretended to be sad and held his chest. Come on, Caesar, we are all 5-color dragons, so don't be like hypocritical green bugs. There is no emotion between the 5-color dragons. If it weren't for His Majesty the Dragon Queen's prohibition, we would still kill even brothers and sisters. Delina said with a smile. Most of the partnerships between 5-colored dragons are reproductive relationships, each solving the other's needs. Otherwise, the dragon father would not disappear as soon as he has a child and leave all the tasks of raising the dragon cubs to the dragon mother. Dragon eggs born later will be devoured by brothers and sisters and used as rich nutrition. This is the chaotic evil 5-color dragon. Don't expect any family affection between them, even if there is, it is minimal. Delina, who had witnessed the intrigues between her brothers and sisters since she was a child, would never believe that Zatu wrote about herself and could have emotions. You are right, Delina, but I am different. I am a great red dragon. Who stipulated that our 5-color dragons have no feelings? Your Majesty the Dragon Queen. Don't forget, her favorite is our 5-color dragons. Love each other. Caesar came to Delina. Don't you think we can't have emotions between us? Dear Delina, I like your smell very much. What you like is just my body. If you conquer the next giant dragon, I guarantee you will leave me behind. Let's get back to the topic. Let's talk about how many years. Delina would not believe what Caesar said. Besides, she doesn't need family affection. She cares more about her freedom. Even if he died, he would not be able to have any emotions with this red dragon. Everything happening now is due to Caesar's powerful coercion. Since Delina, you must tell me the time, then what I can tell you is, 100 years, how about? Caesar said, 100 years. For short-lived species, this is a lifetime, and some people may not even survive. But for a long-lived dragon, 100 years flies by in a blink of an eye. If the dragon does not experience any accidents, its lifespan can reach an astonishing 3,000 years. I heard that there are still some old guys hiding in the mainland. Their lifespan has exceeded 5,000 years, and they have been lingering in a corner. 100 years, this is what you said, Caesar, I hope you won't regret it. Delina's eyes lit up. That Caesar would imprison him for at least 1,000 years. I didn't expect it to be just 100 years. At worst, sleep more. Of course I won't regret it, Delina. Caesar is confident that he will deal with Delina within 100 years. If 100 years have passed and Delina still hasn't developed any feelings for him, then, he will send her to see His Majesty the Dragon Queen. It must be an honor for her. I believe in your promise, Red Dragon. Although the Red Dragon is domineering and arrogant, its reputation among the 5-color dragons is still quite high. They don't bother to break their promises. Except for the cunning and insidious Green Dragon. What do you need me to do next? Delina asked. I need to rest. You freak, aren't you tired? I'm not tired. Finished. Caesar took Delina to the second floor of his dragon lair. Outside, the monsters of the Delina clan were all divided into territories by Waz, a shrewd jackal. Obi stood beside him, acting as Waz's translator. Sometimes it's really troublesome if we don't have a common language. Waz felt that later on, he must provide a suggestion to the master, hoping that all monsters would learn jackal language, hee. This is a bit of Waz's selfishness. Fortunately, the master won, otherwise with our strength, we would not be a match for these monsters. Cled said, the difference in quantity is too huge. Just like that time in Casa Forest, the human soldiers were unable to defeat them due to their numerical superiority. He was almost wiped out by the group. Our strength is still too weak. Alistar sat on the stone, reflecting on his day's battle. Didn't make myself satisfied. Don't think too much, Alistar, we have done a good job, I guess the master might give us a reward this time. Cled laughed. Although the monsters did not defeat each other, their heroic performance still made Caesar very satisfied. The next morning, Nishizawa appeared on the first floor of the lair in high spirits. Dilina, the blue dragon, was lying on the second floor sleeping soundly. She needed a good rest to recover the energy she had spent yesterday. Master, according to your instructions, we divided all the monsters into resting areas for their respective races. Was reported on the progress of the work. A group of monsters were busy carrying food on small wooden carts and placing it in front of Caesar. This is the dragon's breakfast. The monsters went hunting in the nearby forest before dawn. The purpose is to provide food to the owner as soon as possible. You can be hungry first, but the master must take the first bite. Nothing wrong, Was. Caesar was very satisfied. Sure enough, sometimes it is not enough to have strong subordinates, you must also have clever subordinates. Waz's strength is not as good as Alistar's, but in this aspect, Waz can beat Alistar by 100 blocks. The brain is still very useful sometimes. This is what I should do. By the way, Master, I discovered a problem yesterday. Waz said, tell me, which 3 questions? Caesar used his claws to pick up the meat on the cart and put it into his mouth. Although your stomach is not hungry, these foods can satisfy your taste buds. The first one is that our clan has expanded to such a large scale and we don't have an official name yet. Waz rubbed his hands and said, the name of a clan is very important. This is what the monsters of the future will look like. When you go out, you should always reveal where you come from behind your back. You were right, Waz. Well, from now on, my clan will be called the Fourth Natural Disaster. Caesar put down the food in his hand. The scarlet vertical pupils flashed with flames, and the blazing fire represented his ambition. He will bring natural disasters to the entire continent. It's a pity. In this continent, the only one who understands the fourth natural disaster is himself. The fourth natural disaster. Waz was stunned. Obi immediately translated this sentence to the other monster leaders. The monster leaders currently in the Western Dragon's Lair include not only their own monster leaders, but also other monster leaders. It is revealed that the name of the future clan is called the Fourth Scourge. The monsters all felt that this name was extremely domineering. They are the embodiment of natural disasters. And the Master Nishizawa is the god who controls natural disasters. Second question, Master, you are already the master of tens of thousands of monsters. I think you should wear the crown of the Dragon King. Ascend to the throne. Waz continued. Just calling Nishizawa master can no longer explain Nishizawa's status. This is the great His Majesty Caesar. I don't care what you call you, whether it's your majesty or master, I don't care. Waz, tell me the next question. Nishizawa said indifferently. He didn't care what the monsters thought, what he cared about was what the creatures outside thought of him. The next question is that the monsters in the fourth natural disaster all have their own languages. I think this is a huge problem. Think about it, Your Majesty. During the battle, he wanted to call for help from his companions, but because of the language barrier, his companions were unable to provide timely support, which resulted in the loss of his life. And there are still many orders that cannot be conveyed correctly. Waz shared his thoughts yesterday. The language of the monsters is too complicated. The common language of the mainland is very good. The problem is that not all monsters have learned the common language. Many monsters only know their own language. Monsters like Chimera don't even have a language. They can only understand dragon language but not speak dragon language. The Tauren leader Alistar had learned common language, otherwise the Tauren would only know Abyssal. The language barrier is really a problem. Caesar didn't expect Waz to think of this. In fact, there is no need for Waz to say more. After conquering the jackals, Caesar discovered this problem himself. Many times, the goblin Obi is required to be present as a translator to communicate. Otherwise, when Obi was not present many times, Waz and Alistar could only stare at each other, with neither party understanding the other's language. Waz. No, Obi, pass on my order. All monsters must learn common language. Monsters who cannot speak must also understand common language. Lingua franca. It is the most spoken language in mainland China, otherwise it would not be a lingua franca. The language that most monsters can learn is also a simple common language. Lingua franca is very simple. As long as there are no problems with your brain, you can easily master it in 1 or 2 months, get started in 3 months, and have barrier-free communication in 5 months. This is the power of lingua franca. It is the mainstream language in mainland China. No problem, Your Majesty. Obi was happy to have this task assigned to him. The jackal was a little disappointed. He thought he could let everyone learn their own jackal language. This way he might be able to be lazy. You did well in yesterday's battle. Although you are no match for those monsters, I can see your bravery. I heard that you two, Kled and Alistar, worked together to kill a chimera leader. Is that true? Caesar was fighting Dilina yesterday, but he noticed other monsters on the field. Thanks to the help of leader Alistar, I was able to chop off the head of leader Chimera. Kled's heart was beating wildly. Could it be? Are they really going to be rewarded with something? Immediately afterwards, Caesar's next behavior made Kled and the other monster leaders look ecstatic. Click. A thorn was pulled out by Caesar. I will reward you with a brand new dragon transformation ritual. Alistar, you are different from them. You have 2 paths to choose from. Tauren can transform into demons and dragons. The power gained from demon transformation is not inferior to that of dragon transformation, and the shape will be closer to the abyss. Both have high ceilings. If you have to compare, dragon transformation will be stronger than demon transformation. Because Caesar's potential is unlimited, as long as Caesar can continue to grow in the future, one day, his dragon transformation will be stronger than his demon transformation. And there is a side effect of demonization, which is to exchange the brain for the power zone. While the giant bull demon's strength increased, its intelligence decreased a lot. Dragon transformation. I want to become a dragon, Your Majesty. Alistar didn't hesitate at all. He firmly chose dragon transformation. Before Caesar showed his strength, Alistar would have chosen demonization. But it's different now. There is no end to His Majesty's potential, which means that in the future, his dragon transformation will become stronger and stronger, even surpassing his demon transformation. Once he chooses to become a demon, his potential will come to an end at a glance, and he will not be able to turn back and choose to become a dragon. A giant bull demon affected by the power of the abyss. Unless their souls are extracted and their bodies are replaced, the dragon transformation will be rejected by the abyss and eventually explode. Come here, this is the reward you have earned. Caesar motioned for these leaders to come forward. Obi, Kled, Alistar and Waz. 4 monster leaders are waiting for Caesar's reward. After the 4 thorns were pulled out, Nishizawa had no idea of using a dragon to perform the dragon transformation ceremony yet. This group of monsters must know how precious and rare the dragon blood dragon transformation ritual is. Unless they have made a huge contribution to the clan. I, Caesar Fafnir Laden Nidhogg, will give you the blood of the dragon and remove the lowly blood from your body. Nishizawa performs 4 dragon transformation rituals at the same time. The 4 monster leaders accepted the dragon transformation with both pain and enjoyment. Wails of agony echoed through the lair. But this did not make the other monsters feel scared. Instead, they all looked at this scene with envy. It's really enviable. If I had known, they would have rebelled from the beginning. Who knew that Her Majesty Delina had led them to victory in every battle before? As a result, after waking up, he was worse than a young red dragon. The dragon transformation ceremony lasted for an hour. After an hour of transformation, the 4 monster leaders had undergone tremendous changes. The first is the Tauren Alistar. His height has increased from 5 meters to 6 meters, and the mane on the back of his head has been replaced by terrifying thorns. The skin was covered with tiny spikes, and strong muscles exploded. The horns on the top of the head are curved and look like the horns of a giant dragon. If you lie down on the ground and look at it from a distance. Caesar almost regarded Alistar as a beefy version of Bibazi. Mizi is the nickname of Nergigante. Compared to Alistar's changes, Waz, the jackal, is simpler. His body was covered with red scales, and the thorns growing out were also on his mane. His body has grown to 3.5 meters tall, good, which makes him a small giant. Evolved from a gnoll into a dragon-winged gnoll. Yes, Woz was lucky enough to inherit the dragon's wings. Alistar did not grow dragon wings. It's a bit of a pity that I can't have the ability to fly. Obi and Kled, two monsters that had already transformed into dragons, didn't change much in appearance, except that Obi's bloodline became purer. After experiencing this dragon transformation, they all inherited the dragon's language ability, so they don't have to worry about language barriers. Seeing the changes in the leaders, Caesar asked, "How do you feel?" "Thank you for the new life, Your Majesty. After you gave me this power, I realized how weak and lowly I was before. You are like the bright sun hanging in the sky. Even if you shed just a ray of brilliance, it is enough to make our grass grow. Thank you for your gift. How dazzling you are. My humble eyes cannot fit your majestic body. Please let me continue to pray for you and praise you in my heart." Woz has a silver tongue. All of a sudden, the mouths of the other monster leaders were blocked. "You have said it so well. If we just say a few words, wouldn't we be perfunctory to His Majesty?" Alistar and the others decisively chose to shut up. "Okay, Woz, stop talking nonsense. Alistar, tell me, has the human issue been resolved?" "Dear Your Majesty Caesar, since we dumped some human corpses and carriages on the road, it seems to have frightened this group of humans, making them afraid to approach your territory again." Alistar explained. This resulted in him being unable to fulfill His Majesty Caesar's instructions to capture a living human being. The rotting corpses on the road attracted many mosquitoes, but scared away the group of humans. At least in the short term, Alistar does not think humans will come again. "Don't worry, humans will come again, they are such curious creatures." Caesar smiled lightly. He could probably guess that humans might send a few adventurers to investigate in the future. This is the consistent behavior of humans in other worlds. Whenever there is danger somewhere, they will go to the Adventurers Guild and put up a commission task for the group of adventurers to investigate. For a generous reward, adventurers will try it no matter how dangerous it is. "Leave this matter to us, Your Majesty Nishizawa. The Minotaur's body is too big and can easily scare away humans." Woz stepped forward and said. Although the jackal is relatively tall, he can use the surrounding bushes to hide his figure. A tauren with a physique like this cannot be hidden. "Are you confident that you can deal with human adventurers?" Caesar asked. "With the power you gave me, I can kill even the gods in the sky and offer his head to you." Woz is confident. The power given to him by His Majesty the dragon is simply too strong. Woz, who suddenly became stronger, was indeed a little distracted. But he has this floating capital. The strength lies here. Becoming a dragon turned jackal, Woz's strength reached the S-level monster level. Although its strength is at the bottom among S-level monsters, it is still a S-level monster. As long as he doesn't encounter an adventurer that is too powerful, Woz can deal with it. "Then it's up to you, Woz, don't let me down." Since Woz made the request, Caesar gave this task to Woz. "Please rest assured, my beloved Majesty Caesar, the jackal will definitely complete your mission perfectly." Woz promised. Alistar didn't say anything. He thought what Woz said was reasonable. The size of the tauren was difficult to disguise, unless he could master some concealment magic. Otherwise, even a big tree cannot stop such a big body. It is easy to scare away the group of humans who are just approaching. In addition, the tauren don't attack lightly, so it would be terrible if they accidentally kill a human. Your Majesty wants a living human being, not a corpse. By the way, Your Majesty, I think your lair needs to be further expanded. There were not enough monsters in the front, but now there are so many monsters. How can this place accommodate your majestic figure? I have seen His Majesty's extraordinary abilities. Woz knew this lair was no longer adequate. A nest the size of an adult dragon must be re-excavated for His Majesty Caesar. What you said makes sense, Woz, so this task should still be left to you werewolves. Caesar said a little amused. What a greedy jackal. But he didn't take it to heart. Being proactive is a good thing. I am not afraid that the jackals are not greedy, but I am afraid that they are not motivated. Ahem, the blade-tooth tribe only knows how to make your sharp blades. We are still lacking in terms of construction aesthetics. Waz said embarrassedly. What if the nest built does not satisfy His Majesty Caesar? Waz didn't dare to give this a guarantee. You don't need to worry about this. I will give you a blueprint. You, Waz, have the right to mobilize all the monsters in the fourth natural disaster. How about that? With his talent for uncanny craftsmanship, Caesar drew satisfactory designs with ease. Thank you, My Majesty. Since it was designed by His Majesty himself, Waz didn't have to worry about whether His Majesty Caesar would be satisfied. After ordering the monsters, Caesar asked the monsters to leave for the time being. Because he received a message from Lilia. Avacyn Empire. Lilia lives in a gorgeous room. Belinda, the knight who symbolizes peace, has become her exclusive knight. During this time, Lord Saintess and Lord Pope agreed, and Lily was determined to be the next successor of Saintess. This means that other Saintess students directly lose the opportunity to compete. There was nothing the group could do about it. Originally, inheriting the position of Saintess depended on everyone's belief in the gods and their votes. As a result, Lilia directly performed a miracle. You have been recognized by the goddess of glory, no matter how many things these students do. Therefore, Lilia's decision to become the next Saintess was not opposed by others, and everyone supported it. There are even a small number of people who hope that Lord Saintess will step down directly and let Lilia take the position of Saintess. As the successor of Saintess, Belinda became Lilia's exclusive knight, dedicated to protecting Lilia's safety. After learning the news, Lilia excitedly passed the news to her master, Caesar. What Lilia wants more than the position of Saintess is to return to her master. Well done, Lilia, you lived up to my expectations of you. Lilia was very excited after hearing her master's words. Xiang's eyes continued to express his thoughts. The same is true whether it is soul or body. After contacting Caesar, Lilia gradually came back to her senses and looked at this gorgeous room. She must not let down her master. In fact, there was one more thing that she was hiding from Caesar. A long time ago, when she came to the imperial city, Meili Town told her a piece of news. The knights who came with him at that time found the bones already in the dungeon near the Black Swamp. After learning the news, Lilia immediately understood that all of this was a trap by her master Caesar. The knights have never betrayed themselves, let alone humiliated her verbally. If I had discovered it earlier, none of this would have turned out like this. But is there still a way for her to turn back? There is none left. All is gone. When she agreed to help Caesar deceive the people of Meili Town, she knew that she had no way out. Only go down the dark road. I'm sorry to the Green Knights and the other knights who protect me. Just think of me as a despicable and shameless villain. I am so shameless and ugly, I am the slave of an evil dragon. Lilia's beautiful eyes flashed with a trace of fierceness and madness. The light was getting farther and farther away from her, and she was already in the embrace of darkness. Regain your mood. Lilia took a deep breath and let Belinda, the knight outside, come in. Miss Lilia, what do you want from me? Belinda subconsciously looked around to make sure there was no danger nearby, and the group relaxed a little. Don't blame her for being so careful. Many previous Saintess candidates had been assassinated many times. The Church of Glory once investigated the forces behind the murderer, but in the end, for unknown reasons, the matter was ignored. The bodies of the Green Knights have been found. Belinda, please ask people from the church to contact their relatives and friends and give them generous compensation. I understand, Miss Lilia, you are really a kind-hearted person. After hearing Lilia's words, Belinda couldn't help but praise. I have to say that Miss Lilia does have the qualities that Lord Saintess should have. Beauty, purity, and kindness are the noble qualities that the glorious church follows. It's nothing. If it were other people, I believe they would do the same thing. Lilia smiled sweetly. Watching Belinda leave, Lilia's smiling face gradually turned cold. Beautiful and kind. I really disappoint you, Knight Belinda. Lilia's face was cold, and she raised her head to look at herself in the mirror. The props given to you by your master can only deceive you for a period of time. Later, Saintess and the Pope will definitely test you again whether you have magical powers. You have to find a way to fool him. She does not have this strength and must seek help from her master. Rock. Saintess candidate Lilia completely degenerated her whole body and soul and gained 3,000 evil points. Closing square bracket. After learning the news about Lilia, Caesar understood that the next step was the key. How can we really deceive Saintess and the Pope and let Lilia take over the position of Saintess and become the leader of the glorious church? At the same time, Lilia's news made Caesar a little confused. Her whole body and mind were completely depraved. What exactly happened to Lilia? It seems that he has not continued to carry out any depraved plans against Lilia. Could it be that there has been some change in Lilia's psychology? Caesar is unknown, but it was quickly forgotten by Shizawa. Now is not the time to find out about this. We must help Lilia overcome the current difficulties as soon as possible. Deceive those people in the Glory Church. Name: Caesar Fafnir Leyden Nidhogg. Race: world-destroying Crimson Dragon. Faction: chaotic evil. Life: 2000. Strength: 155. Defense: 245. Equipment: Goddess Transparent Fatty. Magic value: 2000. Ability: Fire Breath, Bite, Fire Damage Immunity, 12 Talismans, Magical Craftsmanship, Arrogance. Magic: Fire Elemental Summoning. Evil points: 6000. I glanced at my own panel. What would I do if there weren't so many evil spots? Start pumping. Pumping. Nishizawa's 10th company was completely random. No need to be a hamster storing evil points. 2006 evil points can be used once in 10 times, which means that Caesar can now do 20 draws. This is by far the richest since his debut. Thanks to Delina and Lilia for their great support. It seems that the plan to corrupt Elenia cannot be delayed any longer. As for Delina, she is originally a chaotic and evil blue dragon. She is already in hell, and she needs you to fall to her for what purpose? At present, Caesar can't think of any solution. Just ignore Delina for the time being and deal with Elenia with all your strength. Start pumping. It's still the familiar starry sky. Caesar has a transparent fat in his hand, hoping it will bring him some good luck. Rays of light flew towards Nishizawa. Caesar slowly closed his eyes and waited quietly for the golden light to come. He couldn't help but feel a little uneasy after seeing gold so many times in a row. The gold light was indeed good, but it would have been better if it was dark red. Congratulations to the host for drawing the purple item, 300 Loyal Wind, Floating Dragons. Congratulations to the host for drawing blue items, 1 to 1000 pieces of fine and close-fitting armor. Congratulations to the host for winning. Congratulations to the host for winning the golden item, Talent, Feast. Closing square bracket. Hit the gold. Before Nishizawa could explore the feast, the next golden light struck again. Double gold. Congratulations to the host for winning the golden item, the Angel of Justice Kyle template. Closing square bracket. It's actually double gold. Nishizawa was overjoyed. This is a lot of luck. Things like double gold have happened to me. Although there was still no red item, there was a lot of color on Nishizawa's face. This is double gold. Talent Feast. After modification, the feast is changed to devour creatures, which increases one's own life depending on the life level of the food, with no limit on the number of layers. The feast talent comes from the big bug known as Void Fear. It was originally a talent that devoured enemy heroes and creeps and monsters, but after being drawn by Shizawa, it changed. The number of layers that could only be obtained by devouring epic monsters and enemy heroes is now unlimited. It has become a replacement that depends on the opponent's life level to improve one's own. For example, if Caesar swallows a kobold now, his vitality will only increase by 1 or 2 points. But if he swallows a giant dragon, his vitality will be increased a lot. Vitality is linked to body shape. Directly and indirectly solves the current shortcoming of Nishizawa not being big enough. As long as you continue to devour it, you can make yourself bigger little by little without worrying about being affected by sleep. Angel of Justice Kyle. The hero template can be equipped. Over time and understanding of the template fit can be gradually improved. Note: the template can be given to others and has the right to take it back at any time. Kyle's template obviously doesn't fit Caesar. He is an evil dragon and takes the evil dragon route. Equipped with Kyle's template, it is almost impossible to have the opportunity to improve. Caesar instantly thought of a suitable person, Lilia. I was still thinking about what method to use to help Lilia deceive the Church of Glory, but now it's easy to solve. The template of the Angel of Justice just fits Lilia's situation at the moment. Moreover, Caesar was worried that Lilia, who was worried about the future, suddenly realized that she would use the power of the Angel of Justice to deal with him. Because Caesar has the right to take back Kyle's template at any time. Even if Lilia's future fit with the template reaches 100%, it will be useless. So Caesar was relieved to give the Kyle template to Lilia. At the same time, it can also give Lilia a little strength to protect herself. Otherwise, Lilia would be too weak. Even if she becomes a Saintess in the future, she will still be in danger. Lilia, I will give you a new power next. Don't be afraid. No matter what happens, it is normal. Worried about scaring Lilia, Caesar thoughtfully reminded Lilia. Avicen Empire. Glorious Church. Give me new power. Lilia was stunned at first. Is it possible that the Master is coming here? Not good. This is the territory of the Glory Church. If the owner comes here, he will be in danger. The legendary mage from the Church of Glory is no joke. There are also the 4 other knights who have reached the legendary level. Just as Lilia stood up, earth-shaking changes took place in her body. The holy aura swept away from her body, and the golden light that symbolized brilliance spread within her body. The dazzling golden hair was held up by a force, making it dazzling. Movement in the room. Belinda, who was outside, was immediately attracted in. Miss Lilia, what happened? Belinda was stunned. The beautiful Miss Lilia, whose pale golden hair was already floating in midair, was gradually transformed into pure white by a mysterious force. The heavy nun's uniform faded away and turned into golden armor, covering her exquisite figure. A war skirt swayed on her slender thighs, and golden light shone under her black and gold high boots. The most shocking thing is that 3 pairs of white wings spread out on the back. It's like a god descending to earth. God comes to earth in person. The eyes were filled with golden light, making it difficult to see clearly what Lilia was looking at this moment. Next moment, all these visions disappeared. Lilia returned to her original appearance, and landed firmly on the ground. Miss Lilia, you. Belinda was too shocked to speak. It's okay, Knight Belinda. The goddess of glory gave me power. This is a gift from God. Lilia shook her head and chuckled. He silently added in his heart, this god is the master of Zais. Great, Miss Lilia, congratulations, you are indeed a saintess favored by the goddess. Belinda was sincerely happy for Lilia. Belinda was not jealous at all that Lilia was able to possess this powerful power. Instead, she felt Lilia's joy. To be able to become one of the 4 knights of the Glory Church, Belinda's qualities are certainly justified. Otherwise, the original knight would not have been willing to die to protect Lilia, and would not have been tempted by the monster. What happened here quickly alarmed Saintess and the Pope. They need to find out what happened to Lilia. Did the miracle really happen? Let's go, Belinda. Lilia raised her head and chest. Be confident. At this moment, she is no longer pretending. Unless the goddess of glory really comes in person, no one can reveal her identity. Master, thank you for your gift. Quote, Rock. Continuing with my plan, Lilia, I'm optimistic about your future. Caesar responded to Lilia's words and continued to start his next 10 companies. This time, the 10 companies all got such good things. He is already looking forward to the next 10th company. It's a pity that Nishizawa's good luck seems to have not continued. It was rare that no gold was withdrawn in the next 10 consecutive rounds. Greedy thing, spit out the evil bits for me. Nishizawa said angrily. He talks about greed, but he doesn't know that he is the greedy dragon. The continuous withdrawals made Caesar feel a little lost. Take back your emotions. Caesar left the remaining evil points to prepare for the next 10 companies. Hateful. He thought that if he went down to double gold, he could continue to get gold, but he didn't expect that he was overthinking it. But it would be nice to get double gold. Rounding things off, if he can't draw, he will be out of the cauldron. No loss. With this thought in mind, Caesar felt much better. But I was still a little depressed. I want to test Delina and relieve my anger. The second floor of the lair. Looking at Caesar, who was facing her angrily, Delina looked confused. What happened to this red dragon? Why is it so rude? No, it seems like this happened yesterday. That's okay. Delina has just recovered. Don't forget that Delina is a newly adult dragon. In other words, she is more eager than Caesar. Kuru Forest. Was personally befriended a few jackal elites and hid in the dense bushes, preparing to wait for the enemy. As good hunters, jackals have enough patience. Alista made so much noise earlier that this group of humans were afraid to pass by here. I wonder if they can survive today. Was touched his chin. The jackal was patient, but he still wanted to complete this task for His Majesty as soon as possible. Have a good day and gain His Majesty's appreciation. Chief Was. Humans are coming. Your Majesty is right. Looking at most of the humans, they seem to be adventurers among humans. A jackal man ran up to Was excitedly and talked about the information he had found. The jackals staying in the Karoo forest have had some interactions with people. There are some basic understandings of human beings. You can't do anything wrong, Zack. You wolves, you have to be careful next time and don't let those humans escape. Do you understand? I understand. It seems that they are afraid of scaring away this group of humans. The voices of the jackals became much quieter. On the road. Hey, I said we should be fine as far as this. If we go further, I heard that this is where the monster attacks the caravan. Have you been kicked in the head by a donkey? Isn't our mission to investigate the murder of the caravan? That's what I said, but so many caravans haven't come back. I suspect there's something wrong. This monster has reached level at least. Let's be careful not to go too deep. The 5 adventurers walked on the road vigilantly. Look around carefully. Originally, this road was specially expanded to facilitate trade and horse-drawn carriages. It has been traveling for hundreds of years, and there has never been a monster attack. Because the monsters also know how powerful the Taoists are, they stay away from the roads where humans often come and go, and just stay on their own territory. So after the attack on humans occurred, the adventurers all guessed that it was definitely a monster with considerable strength. If not for the abundant rewards, these 5 adventurers would not come to a place like this. Huh, it smells so bad, look at it. A male swordsman pointed forward in horror. On the edge of the road ahead, there were damaged carriages piled up, and rotting and stinking corpses piled up next to the carriages. After 2 or 3 days, the corpse had already become extremely stinky, and mosquitoes and flies were hovering around it. The flesh on his body became very black, and countless insects crawled on it. They all died here. No, the monsters probably moved their bodies here intentionally, but don't monsters like to eat humans the most? The adventurer captain wondered. As we all know, human flesh and blood is a rare food for monsters. Captain, do we want to go up and have a look? Chapter 71. The female mage retreated a bit. I was just hanging around in the team. If it weren't for his good looks, he probably wouldn't have been accepted by this group of adventurers. No one wants to add a slow guy to the team. Fortunately, the female mage is more beautiful and has a good figure. With a little bit of coquettishness, he can charm the adventurers, and they will be naturally included in the team. When I usually go on adventure missions, I always hide at the end and release 1 or 2 magic spells, pretending to be working hard. Don't be afraid, Yafe, I am here and I will protect you. The adventurer captain flexed his muscles. In fact, he himself was a little scared. But you can't be a coward in front of a beautiful woman. Besides, there are so many corpses piled here, and it looks like they haven't been eaten by monsters for a day or 2. Maybe the monsters that attacked humans would be gone long ago. The adventurer captain took courage, stood at the front of the team, and approached the corpse. Seeing the captain walking up, the other 4 adventurers looked at each other and followed closely. However, because afraid of the appearance of corpses, Yafe still held his magic wand and stood at the back of the team. This can also help you avoid being the last one when you encounter danger. The adventurer captain suppressed his nausea, pulled out the knife from his waist, and picked up the cloth attached to the body. When he saw that all the bones of the corpse were broken, he realized that the monster this group of people encountered was probably a guy with a strong sense of power. Judging from the degree of decomposition of the body, it must have been dead for 2 days. There are no traces of any monsters nearby. I suspect those monsters must have left. The adventurer captain analyzed. After all, he is the captain, so naturally he is not a showman. Still have some skills. Captain, there are some big footprints on the ground. Come and take a look. The swordsman adventurer crouched down and reminded. Everyone came to his side and observed the footprints. This footprint looks like a huge cow's hoof. Could it be That it's a Tauren. It's impossible. How could a Tauren live in a place like this? The experienced adventurer captain immediately guessed the Minotaur, an A-level monster. The terrifying Tauren are indeed capable of destroying caravans of all kinds. The problem is that Tauren don't live in forests. Compared to forests, plains and underground labyrinths are where Tauren should live. Besides, I have lived nearby for so long and carried out so many adventurous missions, but I have never heard of a Tauren living in the Karoo forest. There's no way those Tauren escaped everyone's sight, right? No matter what kind of monster it is, Captain, I think it's better to leave first. It's not advisable to stay here for a long time. Yafei retreated. The footprints are so big. It's hard to imagine how big this monster was. Since Yafei, you are so scared, let's leave first. Our task is to investigate anyway, not to find out who the murderer is. The adventurer captain just followed Yafei's words. He didn't want to stay here any longer anyway. It's just too dangerous. If those monsters come back, none of them can escape. Leave. It's not that simple if you want to leave. Have you asked me for my opinion? Just when the adventurers were preparing to leave, Waz, who was hiding in the corner, finally stood up and led the jackals to surround the place. It's the jackal. The appearance of the jackal startled the adventurers. Especially Waz's terrifying appearance. One can tell at a glance that this jackal has undergone some kind of alienation. With his ferocious appearance and the red armor on his body, he looks like an undead crawling out of hell. Celebrate, the great His Majesty Caesar wants to meet you humans. Waz laughed. Your Majesty Caesar. The adventurers looked at each other. Due to the pressure Waz put on them, they had no idea of resistance at the moment. What's more, this jackal has a master behind him. Although they know that the monsters are extremely vicious, the adventurers still know one thing very well, that is, if they resist now, they will definitely die. Anyway, don't jackals only speak one language? When did you master lingua franca? Seeing that these humans were very interesting, Waz chuckled. It takes no effort at all. I didn't expect it to go so smoothly. Human awareness made him happy. Saves you some trouble. After all, if you really do it, it won't be serious or serious. If you accidentally kill the other party, wouldn't you live up to His Majesty's expectations? Layer rock. The emergence of human beings. Let the monsters boil. Countless monsters were drooling, trying to swallow these 5 humans. Facing the greedy eyes of the monsters, the 5 adventurers' legs became weak, and they regretted following the gnolls to this place. Maybe if you are outside, you still have the ability to fight. I don't even have the ability to fight here. There are so many monsters, even if their physical strength and magic value are exhausted, it is impossible to kill them all. Captain, we won't die here. How would I know? Captain, I don't think we should have come. We are here, even if we die, we will die together. It's hard not to die together. The 5 adventurers were in tears. If I had known better, I wouldn't have coveted this generous reward and continued to stay in the Adventurers Guild to drink some wine or hunt some goblins and slimes, right? I just chose this task. Waz, are they the humans you captured? Alistar walked over. The burly body, like a hill, put great pressure on the 5 adventurers. I'm afraid this is the Tauren who wiped out all the humans on the road. It seems that their guess was not wrong at all. 0. There really are Tauren here. Yes, Alistar, they cooperated very well, so there were no injuries. Waz laughed. Sweet smell, Alistar, you shouldn't have killed all those humans back then, even if you brought them back to us to eat. Cled looked at the 4 adventurers with salivation. When I think of the humans Alistar killed before, I feel a bit regretful. Those corpses stunk. Not even monsters want to eat it. I will bring it to you next time if I have a chance. Alistar doesn't really like eating humans. Tauren prefer prey with strong flesh rather than humans with fine skin and tender meat. Let's talk when we have the chance, Waz. Don't take them to see His Majesty yet. There are magic restrictions at His Majesty's door. Cled reminded. His Majesty's magic ban is opened. Sensible monsters all know what His Majesty is doing inside. They are not stupid. That's unfortunate, humans. It looks like you have to stay here for the time being. Waz gives these humans the respect they deserve. Humans are not tied up with ropes, but allowed to move freely. Anyway, there are so many monsters here, it is impossible for humans to escape. The main reason is that it is not yet clear what the use of this group of human majesties is. Okay, but can I ask Mr. Watts, what exactly do you want to see us for? Yafei summoned up the courage to ask. While on the road, they learned Waz's name. It's not that I have trouble with you, but His Majesty has trouble with you. Anyway, don't worry, at least you are fine now. Waz can guarantee this. Your Majesty has never seen this group of people before. Which monster in the fourth natural disaster dared to touch them? That's good. No, it is okay now. Does it mean something will happen later? Yafei's heart suddenly went cold. Other adventurers also thought of this. I thought to myself that if I was really going to die, I would try my best before dying and die with a few monsters. Otherwise it would be too frustrating. Would you like something to eat? Waz asked. Don't let these guys get hungry and affect His Majesty's plan. Of course yes. Adventurers, you are so rude. You must eat well before you die. Looking at this group of gobbling adventurers, Waz wondered how long it had been since these adventurers had eaten. What he eats is even more outrageous than the way their monsters eat. Where did you find these starving ghosts? Obi quipped. They were indeed captured. It seems that these humans are not doing very well in their own world, otherwise they would not be like this. Waz said angrily. If they couldn't give His Majesty too much value, Nizi would kill these humans on the spot. The dragon's time is a long, long time. After the 5 human adventurers saw that they were fine until night, they were no longer so nervous and scared. He still asks Waz from time to time when he can leave. Waz's answer to them was, wait. It was late at night. The 5 adventurers hid behind a rock and began to sleep leaning against the rock. Just when they were sleeping soundly, Waz reminded them with a kick. Wake up, Your Majesty wants to see you. Waz showed no mercy at all. Regardless of whether they were men or women, he kicked them all awake. Knowing that the master of the monsters was finally going to see them, the adventurers began to get a little scared. Dragon's Nest. Your Majesty, these are the 5 human adventurers I captured for you. They are all here. Waz escorted 5 adventurers in. Bent over, head lowered, extremely charming. When they saw the crimson dragon in front of them, the 5 adventurers were stunned. Crimson thorn dragon scales grow on the dragon's skin, like thorn armor that cannot be approached. The huge obsidian dragon horn crown on the head tells the status and dignity of this giant dragon. The violence and ferocity are vividly displayed in this giant dragon. The dragon's power, like a turbulent wave, spread faintly on the giant dragon, frightening the 5 people to tremble and their souls trembled. Are you adventurers among humans? Caesar looked at the data of these 5 adventurers. Very poor, very different, not even the original Kled. With this kind of fighting power, you still dare to come up with something like this. You really want money rather than your life. Yes. Yes, the great red dragon. The adventurer captain laughed harder than he cried. He never thought that the master of this jackal was actually a red dragon. The legendary dragon was actually encountered by him. All 5 humans knelt on the ground in unison, without the courage to stand up. The courage to fight to the death before has all disappeared. How could they have the courage to fight the dragon? You are here to investigate the disappearance of the caravan, right? The sharp dragon claws struck the sandstone, splashing out particles of gravel. Caesar immediately guessed the purpose of this group of humans. That's right, noble dragon, you are really, you are so resourceful, and the wisdom you contain makes me and other mortals. Okay, humans, if you can't speak, don't speak. Caesar interrupted the adventurer captain. As eloquent as you are not as good as the jackal was. Fortunately, you are still human. It was Waz's words that made him feel happy. The adventurer captain smiled awkwardly and said no more. I wanted to use words of praise to praise the red dragon. It would make the red dragon happy, and maybe they wouldn't die. Who would have thought that his eloquence was so stupid? Tell me, human beings, which kingdom rules this land? Caesar asked. The map Lilia gave him only related to some areas near the Avicen Empire. Further out, there are no records on the map. After all, Lilia herself is just a person living in the Avicen Empire, and has never left the Avicen Empire. It's the Toot Empire. Where you are now is the border of the Toot Empire. The adventurer captain said quickly. Toot Empire, I didn't expect to come here. Nishizawa finally understood where he was now. The Toot Empire is the most powerful empire among the 3 major human empires. I directly picked the strongest one. The other 5 colored dragons who established evil dragon kingdoms established their own dynasties in areas without human rule. It's better for him to become a neighbor next door to the human empire. It seems that it is further away from the location Lilia expected on the map. It's all Clad's fault. If he hadn't read the map wrong, he would have arrived there long ago. Nishizawa thought he had arrived in the southern territory, but he didn't expect that he hadn't arrived yet. Caesar had asked why Delina was here before during the friendly exchange. Delina's answer was that she migrated from somewhere else. The place where I originally stayed was lacking in resources and not suitable for the survival of the kingdom. So, just before she fell asleep, Delina brought the clan to Lair Rock and fell asleep. Because of Delina's deep sleep, the monsters all stayed underground and did not come out to show themselves. Because of this, the Toot Empire didn't know that there was a sleeping blue dragon next door. Great dragon, you are an extremely noble dragon. Please. Can you let us live? The adventurer captain expressed that he wanted to live. He didn't want to die in the hands of the dragon in such an unexplained way. I still have a great life to enjoy. The beautiful ladies in the custom museum are still waiting for his arrival. Let you live. Caesar smiled playfully. As long as you let us go, we can do anything we want. Yafei said with tears in his eyes. She is really afraid of death. Don't be so afraid, humans, I have a plan now that requires your cooperation. We must cooperate. Not waiting for Caesar to say what he plans to say. The 5 adventurers who heard the words of cooperation agreed to cooperate without saying a word. Let's talk about it if we can survive. If you can't survive, everything is meaningless. What is the name of your border town? Caesar asked. The town of Cordero. When they heard the news about the giant dragon exploring the town, the 5 adventurers were not stupid. This clearly means that they are going to deal with their town. If it were other adventurers, they would definitely not betray their town and country. But for these 5 shameless adventurers, they all don't matter. As long as they can survive, they don't care whether the town will be destroyed by the dragon. After a while, Caesar found out the information he wanted. It is indeed a border town. The number of ordinary people is less than 50,000, and there are fully 100,000 imperial soldiers stationed here. One town alone cannot afford it. The food and reward were provided by Lebio, the city closest to the town of Cordero. These were issued by the empire personally. After all, how can imperial soldiers rely on other nobles to support them? 100,000 imperial soldiers are not too many, but not too few. There are also 2 sword kings and a sword master sitting there, which is enough to show how much the Toot Empire attaches importance to the border. The levels of swordsmen are divided into apprentice swordsman, lower swordsman, middle swordsman, upper swordsman, great swordsman, sword king, sword master and sword god. When you reach the level of sword master, you are an amazing existence. Above that is the legendary swordsman. Swordsmen of this level act alone and are not restricted. The reason why values this border so much is because it is opposite to the border of the Avicen Empire. The existence of 2 equal empires is naturally to prevent the other party from raiding oneself. The small border town has such a strong combat power, and relying on the current strength of the 4th natural disaster, if it is attacked by force, many soldiers will be killed or injured. Caesar decided to sit still and use his rat charm to blast a wave of soldiers for himself. Even though there is Delina now, the battle cannot always be fought by the dragon himself, the monsters should always be allowed to charge forward. Otherwise, what's the use of recruiting so many monsters? The number of monsters in the 4th natural disaster was not enough. Caesar decided to increase the number of monsters in the 4th natural disaster to 100,000, at least the same number as human soldiers. Do you want the power and wealth to live a great life? Nishizawa asked in a roundabout way. Great power and wealth. Of course, we've all dreamed of it. Great dragon, you. Why are you telling me this? The adventurers vaguely guessed something. The dragon did not kill them for a long time, even after asking questions, it did not accuse them. He must be plotting something bigger. If you are still saying these words to them now, maybe you are attracted by the small town of Cordero behind them. Listen humans, I have a treasure that contains endless wealth, and the power to kill gods, I can give it to you. The premise is that you do something for me. The dragon's words, like the devil's whisper, echo in the adventurers' ears. Their intuition told them that everything the evil dragon said was false, but their greed made them want to try it again. Tangled. Do something. The 5 adventurers looked at each other. Caesar grinned. He told them his plan. A plan that requires the cooperation of these 5 people. When he learned that his mission was to stay in the small town of Cordero, he should cooperate internally and externally to help the dragon break through the town. Great dragon, it's not that we don't want to help you, it's because you know our strength very well. It seems like we can't help you even if we want to. The adventurer captain forced a smile. The strength of the 5 of them is considered relatively high among adventurers. With their own strength, they still want to help the giant dragon cooperate inside and outside. This is simply impossible. Noble dragon, please think of other favors, we will definitely help. Yafei said. Caesar didn't say anything more. Waz in front of him understood it and showed his ferocious face, then go to hell. The wolf's claws suddenly stretched out. Unexpectedly, the warrior adventurer was pierced through the shoulder by Waz, and then was devoured alive by Waz, a jackal, in front of everyone. The miserable screams during the whole process made the adventurers tremble with fear and make them sweat profusely. The fishy smell of blood filled the nest and spread in front of the nose. Bloody corpses lay on the ground, and the sound of Waz chewing meat echoed in the empty lair. Your Majesty the dragon, please tell us what we should do. The remaining 4 adventurers swallowed. My mind is spinning rapidly. He quickly turned around, changed his title, and called Caesar his Majesty. The implication is that they regard Caesar as their master. The death of their companions made them extremely frightened, and Yafei was so frightened that a stream of light yellow liquid flowed from his lower body, which had a faint odor. Don't call me your Majesty, call me Holy Lord, do you understand? Yes, Holy Lord. The 4 adventurers kneeled on the ground respectfully. Holy Lord. Waz wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. What a nice title. It is very suitable for His Majesty's status. You don't have to belittle yourselves. In fact, you contain very strong power within your body, but you just haven't discovered it yourself. Waz, call me Obi. Caesar said. Yes. Waz turned and left. Caesar took out 4 talisman papers from the system space. Before the 4 adventurers could react, he used his own power to drive the 4 talismans into the bodies of the 4 adventurers. The adventurers were terrified and hurriedly groped with their hands to check their physical condition. When I found that there were no hidden dangers, I felt relieved. You don't have to be afraid. That thing just now is just a means to control you, called life and death. Caesar chuckled. The talisman of life and death. The 4 adventurers felt excited again. This name doesn't sound like a good thing at first sight. Once the effect of this talisman takes effect, your body will be extremely itchy. The severe itching will make you subconsciously scratch your body. Without my antidote, you would scratch your bodies until you die. Caesar made it very clear. The 4 adventurers were frightened. Why is there such a weird thing? They completely believed what the dragon Caesar said, because the dragon had no need to deceive them. There is also a life and death talisman. I don't care what method you use, but you must use this thing on the sword master stationed in the town. Do you understand? Slave contracts are certainly useful, but there are too many restrictions. Only with the consent of both parties can the soul be used to create a contract. The life and death talisman does not have this restriction. It's a tough approach. Of course, there are priests in this world, so it is still unknown whether the control of the life and death talisman can be unlocked. Caesar just wanted to try if he could control the sword master through the life and death talisman, so that all defenses could be easily solved. Even if he couldn't control the sword master in the end, Caesar would still be at a loss. Anyway, this thing is a bonus item brought by my 10 consecutive draws. It is not particularly useful, it is just a blue item. The antidote comes in a package. The 4 adventurers knew there was no turning back. Either help the dragon honestly, or die of itching. Maybe it was a psychological effect, but they suddenly felt a little itchy in their bodies. Please rest assured, Holy Lord, we will try our best to do it. If we can't do it, please give us the spell to lift the curse. The adventurer captain gritted his teeth and said. The talisman of life and death was regarded by them as a curse, and only Caesar knew the spell to lift the curse. Your Majesty, are you looking for me? Waz walked in with Obi. Obi, I need you to follow these 4 adventurers back to the human town and assist in my plan. Caesar said. Obi's brain is quite good, and his strength is also very good. Let him follow these 4 adventurers back to help these 4 idiots. Let this monster leader go back with us. Holy Lord, you may not understand that monsters cannot exist in this town unless they are slaves. The adventurer captain explained. As a human town, it is impossible for a monster to walk on the street in such a majestic manner. But if they want this monster leader to become their slave, I'm afraid they won't agree. You don't need to worry about this, Obi, come forward. After experiencing the Green Knight, Obi knew what His Majesty was going to do, and stepped forward to the point of peeing. Caesar raised his paws and spoke incomprehensible dragon language. The monkey charm and transformation spell were performed at the same time. In an instant, Obi's huge body shrunk at a speed visible to the naked eye, and soon a naked man stood in front of everyone. Is this Lake? Isn't Lake dead? By God, I'm not dreaming. What an amazing ability. The 4 adventurers were stunned. The man Obi turned into at this moment was the adventurer named Lake who had just been eaten alive by Waz. Yafe subconsciously glanced at the lower body of Lake that Obi had transformed into. Well, this area was different from Lake. Bigger than Lake's. Tell Obi all the information about your dead companions. From now on, he will be your adventure partner. Quote. Caesar was worried about these 4 idiots. I'd better let my more clever subordinates go in and take a look. Obi becomes Riker and can implement some of his own plans. For example, when attacking a city, ask Obi to quietly open the city gate. Okay, Holy Lord. The adventurer captain rubbed his eyes, still a little unbelievable that the monster was so vicious just now. Under the dragon's magic, he turned into the dead Lake, almost exactly the same. If we have to say the difference, it is a matter of temperament between the 2. Lake's temperament will be weaker, while the Lake that Obi becomes is full of confidence, with eyes full of ferocity and wildness. Obi left the dragon's lair with his 4 future partners. He needed to get some information about Lake from the mouths of these 4 guys, so as not to betray himself. Your Majesty Caesar, aren't you afraid that these 4 fools will turn against you in the face of battle? Waz still didn't believe these 4 humans. With their brains, they might even slip up. Okay. Whether the plan succeeds or not, it doesn't matter to me. If it succeeds, it will save some trouble. If it fails, it will take some time to conquer. Caesar didn't care. As for the treasure and power, he said. Give me a break. It is impossible for a greedy dragon to hand over the treasure. It couldn't happen in a dream. However, if these 4 guys do well, Caesar can consider letting them go. After all, you are doing things for yourself. If word spreads, who else will work for him in the future? But, what does a dragon care about his reputation? Intimidate humans into becoming traitors and gain 100 evil points. Closing square bracket. I need a good meal, Waz. Caesar wanted to try the talent of feasting. No problem, my beloved Majesty. Waz laughed. After a while, delicious food was brought in by monsters one after another. Smelling the fragrant food, Caesar's appetite increased. He licked the corners of his mouth and devoured the food. In the process of devouring the food, Caesar's talent for feasting began to take effect, and his vitality began to increase. Although swallowing food can indeed make my feast have an effect, it is very slight. Caesar stopped eating. He glanced at his own panel. Name: Caesar Fafnir Leyden Nidhogg. Race: world-destroying Crimson Dragon. Faction: chaotic evil. Strength: 155. Defense: 245. Equipment: Goddess Transparent Fatty. Magic value: 2000. Ability: Fire Breath, Bite, Fire Damage Immunity, 12 Talismans, Magical Craftsmanship, Arrogance, Feast. Magic: Fire Element Summoning, proficient in first ring fire magic, proficient in second ring fire magic, fire protection. Evil points: 900. After eating so much, it increased a little bit of vitality. It only improved a little bit. Although there is no limit to the number of levels of the feast, if you want to improve it more, you still have to swallow a whole prey, and some prey with high life levels. Caesar stopped eating, and the awake Delina walked up from the second floor. Looking at the food placed in front of Caesar, Delina's eyes lit up and she stepped forward to grab the food. Caesar did not stop this. He was too lazy to ask for these mosquito legs. I'll go out and hunt for myself later and see how much the feast can increase for me. There is so much food, why are you dazed? Delina chewed the meat in her mouth and said. I remembered something, Delina, I need to go out. Nishizawa returned to Shinto. Whatever you want, it's best if you run away. Delina said. She wished that Caesar had run away. In this way, he can take over the fourth natural disaster and become his own blue dragon emperor again. Instead of becoming a prisoner of a red dragon. Do you hate me so much? What if you have a baby in your belly? Caesar joked. Child, the hybrid has been cursed by Her Majesty the Dragon Queen. He will be born as a dragon beast. It is better to kill him. Delina disagreed. Caesar smiled and said no more, flapped his wings and left the dragon's lair. Mixed breed. It is a dragon species that is a cross between 5-color dragons. Unlike dragons, hybrids are rejected by Tiamat and cannot possess the dragon's dragon heritage. Naturally, it is no different from a dragon beast. Any knowledge needs to be acquired. Just like a newly born human larva. However, hybrids are very talented and seem to be able to perfectly inherit their parents' abilities. Caesar actually wanted to have a mixed race with Delina for fun. It's a pity that Delina doesn't like it. Every time after doing it, Delina would give herself a purification technique to ensure that she would not get pregnant. A unique magical contraceptive method. You deserve it, it's much easier to use than a certain learning tool, and it won't hurt your body. Karoo Forest. Caesar transformed into a goshawk and soared freely in the sky. Looking down, you can see some monster tribes hunting. The fourth disaster occupied Strata Rock on the day before the Karoo Forest was managed. Although they have not started to manage it yet, the fourth natural disaster has already regarded the Karoo Forest as their own territory. Eagle strikes the sky. Nishizawa spotted a prey below and went straight down. In the Karoo Forest, a huge black giant bear is enjoying today's prey. Phew, the chirping of eagles echoed across the sky from overhead. The black giant bear didn't take it seriously. An eagle could not pose any threat to it. Just when the black giant bear thought so, the eagle in the sky suddenly landed, daff, and its sharp talons instantly pierced the black giant bear's head. The black giant bear could not understand until his death why he died in the hands of an eagle. The black giant bear fell to the ground with a bloody head. The eagle standing on it transformed back into the body of a giant dragon. Caesar unceremoniously activated his feast talent. Such a huge black bear was easily swallowed by Zeiss. When Caesar swallowed the black giant bear, he found that his health had increased a little. Really, the amount of increased health depends on the opponent's health level. The health value that a black giant bear brought to him was much better than that pile of meat. Caesar continued his efforts and started his next hunt. A giant dragon transformed into a goshawk is starting its own hunt. Until dawn rises the next day. The forest exuding the smell of blood gradually emerged from the world shrouded in darkness and ushered in the long-lost dawn. That night, the creatures in the Karoo forest trembled. Name: Caesar Fafnir Laden Nidhogg. Race: world-destroying Crimson Dragon. Faction: Chaotic Evil. Strength: 155. Defense 245. Equipment: Goddess Transparent Fatty. Magic value: 2000. Ability: Fire Breath, Bite, Fire Damage Immunity, 12 Talismans, Magical Craftsmanship, Arrogance. Magic: Fire Elemental Summoning. Evil points: 6000. 500 lives added. Nishizawa's size increased from 10 meters to 11 meters. Although it only increased by 1 meter, it was a big change for Nishizawa. This shows that one does not need to go through the dragon's slumber to gain a powerful body. The only thing that limits him is that the life levels of the monsters in the Karoo forest are too low. If only I could eat a giant dragon. Caesar thought of Carolina, who was still sleeping. After all, he has become his younger brother. How could he do something like his elder brother eating his younger brother? Nishizawa wanted to run to Dragon Island. That's where metal dragons gather. So many giant dragons, enough for me to eat directly and become the dragon of the world, right? Nishizawa began to fantasize about landing on Dragon Island. Decided, when he completely solves Lan Tiao's matter, he will go to Dragon Island and hunt dragons. As long as the blue bar problem can be solved. Relying on the power of the 12 talismans, even the metal dragons who cannot kill these dragon islands are still capable of competing with these metal dragons. Go to the small town of Cordero. Caesar had previously found a magic in the dragon's inheritance. A magic called concealment. This magic can help Caesar shield his own breath. Plus my own monkey talisman and snake talisman. As long as the other party doesn't see through the magic, he can be free and helpless at will. Think of this. Caesar once again transformed into a red bird and flew towards the town of Cordero. Cordero town. In this border town, even early in the morning, there are many traders starting exchanges, and traders coming and going will rest here. As the entrance to the border. This is where caravans rest and trade. The economy is pretty good. A red bird flew over their heads, but they didn't pay attention. What's more, I didn't expect that this little bird would be a red dragon. Although he turned into a bird, Caesar still retained the vision of a dragon and could clearly see the scene below. This town is neither big nor small. The internal military structure was clearly visible to Caesar. In some kind of corner, a group of people wearing white robes covering their faces were blocked in an alley by a group of mysterious people also wearing white robes. Everyone, we are all believers in the temple, and we should not fight over the affairs of the temple. This is the Pope's order. Please forgive us for not following your opinion, Lord Saintess. Is it because the Pope's order is for you to assassinate me, the Saintess? This is a battle between you and the Pope, we are just executors who follow orders. The Church of Radiance is the Bishop of the Avicen Empire, and the Bishop of the Wangad Empire is the Temple of the Sun. Also a church curse. As a Saintess of the Temple of the Sun, at this moment, her way was blocked by the priests of her former temple. They held a machete in their hands, which was extremely dangerous. You should not help the Pope, he is wrong. Sun Temple Saintess scolded sternly. Wrong or right is not something we can consider. Lord Saintess, if you are more honest, you can leave less painfully. If. Holy light. Bang. The clergyman had not finished speaking. Saintess took the lead, pulled out the sword hanging from her waist, and controlled the holy light technique to catch the opponent off guard. The powerful impact beam knocked away the clergyman in front of him. Then Saintess wanted to take the opportunity to escape from here. Bang! Vine after vine broke out from the ground and bound her feet. Saintess raised her sword to cut through the vines. An arrow fired from a distance pierced his wrist, blood seeped out, and the severe pain caused the weapon in Saintess's hand to fall off. Saintess's delicate body trembled, and beads of crystal clear sweat soaked her clothes. Holding her injured wrist, she clenched her teeth. I have said before, Lord Saintess, you are the one who has to endure this pain. Don't worry, the next step will not be painful at all, it will be fine in a moment. No, this is Saintess. I have never experienced what Saintess feels like. That makes sense. I heard that Saintesses are all pure. I just want to see if it's okay, ha ha ha. Listening to the dirty words in my ears. Saintess felt that this group of people was extremely dirty. It was an insult to the sun god that such people could serve as priests in the Temple of the Sun. Thinking that she would fall into the hands of these people, Saintess forced herself to raise her strength and wanted to release a spell that would kill them all. At this time, the world seems to have settled down. The clergy who were about to approach her all lost their voices for some reason and their faces were dull. Immediately afterwards, thump, one by one, the clergy fell to the ground stiffly, blood spread from under their bodies, and they fell into a pool of blood. What happened? Saintess's eyes narrowed. It's wonderful. They call you Saintess. What kind of church are you a Saintess? It's really rare that you can fall into this situation. Saintess's delicate body trembled, and a thick and majestic whisper appeared in her ears. She turned her neck stiffly and saw a red bird standing on her shoulder. The bird's eyes reflected a terrifying majesty, flashing dangerous scarlet. For fear of being banned from eating human beings, they can only eat non-human creatures. A red talking bird, Saintess has never seen this kind of creature before, let alone from books. The pressure coming from his shoulders made Saintess dare not act rashly. Only the blood still dripping from the wrist wound echoed in the alley. Caesar noticed Saintess's wounds, and the warm and gentle healing power flowed from his body, covering Saintess's shoulders along her wrists. In an instant, the wrist that was originally pierced recovered as before without any pain. "My hand is ready." Saintess looked surprised and raised her injured wrist. "There is no pain when twisting, and if you wipe away the blood on it, you can see that the horrific wound has long since disappeared. Is it your power?" Saintess was not stupid. She looked at the bird standing on her shoulder. "Let's find a place to talk." "Let's talk, Saintess." A flash of scarlet light flashed in Caesar's eyes. Hostile. Saintess came to a hotel to rest with the money she got from the clergy. She took off the heavy white robe she was wearing, revealing her graceful figure under the white robe, with her long and smooth thighs clearly visible. Her bulging breasts hold up her clothes, showing that this Saintess has a very broad mind. Beneath the slender waist are plump and round buttocks. Under the white robe, Saintess was wearing a white tight-fitting long dress with a black and gold corset tied around her waist. Her long white hair, as long as a waterfall, hung down behind her head, blowing in the wind. The flawless and pretty face is full of vigilance. She was looking at the bird standing on the table in front of her, watching casually. She and the little bird were silent on the way, but the pressure this little bird brought to her was greater than the Pope at the Temple of the Sun. If nothing else, the priests in front should have been killed by this little bird. It kills clergymen instantly and silently, and is powerful. "Who are you?" Saintess spoke of Orchid and asked her doubts. "When you ask someone who they are, do you want to introduce yourself first?" Caesar asked rhetorically. It was the first time he showed this gesture to others. Who would have thought that beneath the harmless appearance of humans and animals, there was the soul of a giant dragon? "My name is Colin Ilamina, the Saintess of the Temple of the Sun, technically the predecessor." Quote. Colin revealed her identity. Karen Ilamina. When Caesar heard the name, he suddenly turned his head and looked at Karen. "If your surname is Caslana, you'll be fine. Fortunately, my last name is Ilama." "What's wrong?" Colin saw the other party suddenly turned his head and stared at her intently. This made Colin feel a little scared. "Nothing, my name isn't important, just call me Holy Lord." Caesar doesn't want to reveal his identity as a dragon just yet. "Holy Lord." Colin nodded. It wasn't a name, it should just be a code name. Never heard of this name. But judging from the meaning, the nickname Holy Lord should be synonymous with a noble and superior person. There's no way a little bird could have that code name. It is very possible that the figure in front of you is just a means to confuse people. Colin was very smart and immediately guessed that Caesar was not a bird. This is no longer a rare thing on this continent. For example, the golden dragon and the silver dragon. When these two metal dragons were in the human world, they often turned into humans, mingled with humans, and then left quietly. There are also rumors that some demons in the endless abyss will turn into harmless humans and animals after being summoned to bewitch the other party's soul, thereby achieving the purpose of devouring the soul. You are the Saintess of the Temple of the Sun. Why would those temple personnel attack you? Caesar was curious. The situation of the Sun Temple seems to be worse than that of the Glory Church next door. At least the Church of Radiance cannot do anything to harm Saintess. Didn't you see that Lilia just showed a wave of miracles and was sought after by the church? Because some secrets of the Pope were discovered, the Pope, together with the knights and senior personnel, poured dirty water on me. So now the clergy of the entire temple are hunting me down, and even the Adventurers Guild is holding my trust. Colin laughed at herself. She originally discovered the Pope's activities, but she did not reveal the Pope's true face first. On the contrary, the Pope poured dirty water on him. The other senior officials all sided with the Pope, and no one supported him. Only then did Colin realize that everyone was involved in the incident. It's just excluding myself. Dirty water. I'm really curious about what kind of dirty water it is. Caesar was happy to hear the story. Maybe this will help him overthrow the Toot Empire. The Pope, together with other temple personnel, is constantly making sacrifices to the demons in the endless abyss, gaining powerful strength and lifespan from the demons. Quote. It is known to the outside world as a gift from the sun god. Karen hesitated for a moment and then told Caesar about the matter. I thought that if I accidentally died tragically, at least the Holy Master would know the truth. As long as people can remember the dark side of the Pope. As for whether other people believe it or not, Karen doesn't care. The devil of the endless abyss. Caesar discovered that the darkness inside these so-called church temples seemed to be deeper than the chaotic and evil monster water. After all, the monsters are chaotic and evil, and the best they can do is fight and kill. Strategies have never been something monsters are good at. On the other hand, these self-proclaimed bright human beings do quite a few things secretly, right? For example, in the previous incident in Melee Town, the bishops and priests of the Glory Church were later found to have threatened boys and girls, coerced and lured them, and forced them. This was all what Lilia told him later. Although Nishizawa appeared at that time and destroyed the dungeon where the boys and girls were imprisoned, it was his destruction that led to the discovery of those things when the building was being rebuilt. It happened that the archbishop was still there at that time, and those two scumbags of the church were finally captured. It seems that all crows in the world are equally black. Colorful black. The power of demons is not easy to obtain. They have sacrificed the lives of many ordinary people. What do they think of their lives? Colin said angrily. You want to overthrow them. Caesar saw this as an opportunity. Once someone hates someone, it is the best time for him to take action. Of course, but it's impossible to rely on my strength. I need to win over other people to have a chance to overthrow the Pope's rule. Colin was very clear-headed. This is why she ran away to the small town of Cordero. Point 0. Unfortunately, he was still caught up by the clergy. Fortunately, with the Holy Lord, she was saved. Karen, in the final analysis, your strength is too weak. If you were strong, how could you be forced into such a situation by the Pope? Caesar chuckled. Yeah, I'm not strong enough yet. Colin raised her white jade hands and clenched them slightly into fists. If she had strong power, she could definitely knock down the old Pope from his high position. Then do you want to gain great power? These words of Caesar. Colin immediately became alert. The words you said really sound like a devil. Isn't the devil in the story so deceptive? Devil, ha ha ha, I am not a devil. On the contrary, I am your savior, Karen. I can help you solve the obstacles in front of you. Caesar is not one of those low-level demons. A bunch of guys who only know how to demagogue people. If there is no summoning ritual for creatures, you can only stay in the endless abyss for the rest of your life. What a weak, pathetic guy. Holy Lord, I will keep the help you gave me in mind. I'm sorry, but I don't need your help for the time being. Colin remembered Caesar's kindness in helping her. But she would never be so easily seduced by Caesar. Okay, Karen Saintess, I wish you a good mood and good weather every day. We will meet again in the future. If you need my help, I will be happy to help you. The corners of Caesar's mouth raised slightly. Not needed for now. Doesn't mean it won't be needed in the future. Colin will need her one day, she just needs to wait for this day to come. Phew, a breeze blew. Caesar disappeared in front of Colin. Karen's tense body finally relaxed. The pressure the Holy Lord put on her was too much. Lair Rock, Dragon's Lair, where have you gone? You smell like a human being. As soon as Caesar returned to the Dragon's Lair, Dilina pulled him up and smelled the scent of Caesar's body. I smelled a sweet human scent keenly. She had some doubts as to whether Caesar had gone out alone to eat more delicious humans. Leave yourself to the Dragon's Lair to eat this crappy food. Although these foods are very fresh, they are far inferior to those of humans. I went to the human town to play for a while and saw some things. Nishizawa explained. It seems that the human world is not as simple as one imagines. Far more complicated than his own clan. The Temple of the Sun is a good opportunity. You seem to have gotten a little bigger. Is it my imagination? Dilina looked Caesar up and down. Although Caesar has only grown 1 meter, in Dilina's eyes, there is a big gap between him and before. The gap of 1 meter could not be hidden from her eyes. It's not like I can't grow up. I'll eat more food and grow up. This is very reasonable. Caesar didn't explain much. Dilina narrowed her eyes, intuitively telling herself that Caesar was hiding something from her. But, what the heck? Anyway, she has been temporarily enslaved by Caesar. She was not qualified to care about Caesar's affairs. After he has survived these 100 years, he can leave Caesar's side and re-establish his own kingdom. Maybe I will never see Caesar again in my life. After a while, Caesar walked out of the Dragon's Lair again. He took out the rewards stored in his system space, 100 wind-drifting dragons. Fengdiaolong is a kind of dragon with a body size of about 6 to 8 meters. The mouth is similar to a bird's beak, and the head is equipped with a pair of sails that can change its posture during flight. When folded, it looks like 2 long tentacles. The way the wings are spread out is similar to the fins of a fish, and each wing membrane is individually grown together with the phalanges. It is not like a giant dragon that has a pair of separate dragon wings on its back. The wind-drifting dragon has long, thin, flexible tail wings. The sharp claws are like eagle claws and can easily tear the enemy's body into pieces. Roar, the moment when 100 wind-drifting dragons landed on the ground. Then they let out bursts of dragon roars, and they all bowed their heads obediently, expressing their submission to Zai's. The Fengdiaolong is a dragon from the coral platform in the monster hunting world, and is the dominant dragon of the coral platform. Once, because the Fengdiaolong was flying around, Nishizana crawled around on the coral platform to kill it, and finally killed it in its lair. Your Majesty Caesar. The movement of Fengdiaolong attracted the attention of surrounding monsters. When they saw this group of creatures that looked like flying dragons, the monsters all showed horrified looks. When did so many flying dragons appear in Lair Rock? They didn't notice it at all. If these flying dragons are enemies, their investigation will not be done properly, but they will be punished by His Majesty. Don't worry, this is the flying dragon I summoned, and it is also a mount for you. Go and conquer them. Whoever can conquer the Fengdiao dragon can have a flying dragon mount. Nishizawa explained the identity of Feng Piaolong. He also generously gave up the Feng Piaolong to the monsters. Just like the big thief dragon last time, let powerful monsters conquer them and increase the flying combat power of the fourth natural disaster. The monsters beamed when they heard that they could conquer these flying dragons and use them as mounts. Not only humans want to be dragon knights, but monsters also want to be. Let me ask, driving a flying dragon to fly freely in the sky is much more handsome than fighting on land. It's a pity that the Tauren are still unable to participate in such an event. It's still the same reason as before, they are too big. Wind-drifting dragons are not suitable as their mounts. The Fengdiaolong's relatively slender body cannot carry a several-ton creature like the Minotaur into the sky. Caesar thought that if he could draw a stronger dragon next time, or even an ancient dragon, he could let the Tauren have their own mounts. The wind-drifting dragon has the ability to breathe cold air. Although it is much worse than Beilong's freezing breath, he still has the ability to breathe. Especially the dragons summoned by Nishizawa. After coming to the continent where magic exists, their bodies began to have magic power. The first summoned Great Thief Dragon had 500 magic points. Enough to learn a few magic tricks. It's a pity that their IQs are not very high. Whether they can successfully learn magic depends on whether their knights can be patient. A month later. Name: Caesar Fafnir Leyden Nidhogg. Race: World-destroying Crimson Dragon. Faction: Chaotic Evil. Life: 8,000. Strength: 210. Equipment: Goddess Transparent Fatty. Magic value: 2,100. Ability: Fire Breath, Bite, Fire Damage Immunity, 12 Talisman, Magical Craftsmanship, Pride, Feast. Magic: Fire Element Summoning, Proficient in First Ring Fire Magic, Proficient in Second Ring Fire Magic, Fire Protection. Evil points: 1,100. A month has passed. Through Feast's innate ability, Caesar increased his size to 22 meters. It has exceeded the size of a young red dragon and reached some thresholds for young red dragons. To become a qualified young red dragon, one must have a body of 25 meters. Because the red dragon's body is the strongest among all 5-color dragons, they will be larger in size than other 5-color dragons at the same age. It does grow really fast. The only drawback is that all the prey with a slightly higher life level in the Karoo forest were eaten by Caesar. But there is a benefit. Without the more powerful hunters, those creatures with low life levels have multiplied very quickly in this month. 0. The monsters in the bedrock therefore have no shortage of food. In case there was not enough food, the Tauren of the Alistar tribe also led some monsters who knew how to raise livestock together. Used for emergencies. The changes in Caesar's body shape could not be hidden from Dilina. Dilina was not interested at first, but now she is very interested. What kind of ability is this? It can make a giant dragon skip sleeping and have such a powerful body. If all the giant dragons learned this, the giant dragons would probably eat up all the creatures on the mainland. Can you teach me this ability? Lena said shamelessly. Want to learn? I'll teach you. The corners of Caesar's mouth raised slightly. Delina took it seriously at first, but it wasn't until she was pushed to the ground and bullied by Zeiss that she realized that this was all her imagination. Even if the innate ability of feasting could really be given, it would be impossible for Caesar to give it to him. This is the key to your own growth. When I get stronger, I will definitely go to Dragon Island. Even if he becomes the enemy of the entire continent, it doesn't matter. During this month, in addition to Nishizawa's changes, the 4 adventurers in the town of Cordero, with the help of Obi, became star adventurers in the Adventurers Guild. This adventure team can perfectly complete the adventure commission. He also successfully cleared away the monsters blocking the caravan's trading path. Nishizawa deliberately removed the monster. Received an award from the mayor. This made an outstanding contribution to the town's trade. Although it was hailed as a heroic level mission, they did not forget the mission given to them by the Holy Lord. Under the introduction of the mayor, I met the sword master who guards the town of Cordero. Obi was worried that the Juggernaut would be suspicious of him, so he deliberately did not show up in front of the Juggernaut for fear of being discovered. These 4 stupid guys would naturally fail without Obi's help. Fortunately, the strange behavior did not attract the Juggernaut's attention, and the Juggernaut just thought that they were too excited. Obi, who learned about this incident, scolded these 4 idiots severely. At the same time, during the field mission, he ran back to Lair Rock and told Caesar. Caesar had little confidence in these 4 idiots. Just these 4 guys are worse than the mafia in anime. In addition to the unexpected plans of the sword master, Caesar often turned into a bird and flew to the small town of Cordero to monitor the Saintess Karen. I have to say that Colin is very powerful. She quietly gathered a group of temple personnel who were willing to support her Saintess in the dark. Given time, it would really be possible to rely on one's own strength to unite with others to overthrow the papal rule. How could the despicable Caesar let Colin go on so smoothly? Otherwise, why did Nishizawa's evil points increase? Because he deliberately told the people in the local Sun Temple about Colin's plan and whereabouts. The people who Colin finally gathered were all executed by those who supported the Pope. Colin, who had finally accumulated some strength, suddenly became alone again. At the same time, because of her actions, she killed a dozen supporters who were willing to help her. Karen felt very guilty. It seems our plan, Miss Collian, is not going well. You're here again, Holy Lord, I told you, I don't need your power. Colin's beautiful face was facing the window, and without looking back, she knew who was standing behind her. During these days, whenever he was almost caught by the people from the Sun Temple, this mysterious creature who calls himself the Holy Lord will appear next to her and save her from fire and water. For the Holy Lord's salvation, Colin expressed her heartfelt thanks. But my intuition told me that the Holy Lord's help was not that simple. The other party's intentions are huge. But she didn't understand what was in her body that could make the Holy Lord help her like this. Isn't it okay to just have a simple chat? As a friend. Caesar raised his wings, pecked the feathers under the wings with his beak, and combed the feathers. He admired Karen's vigilance. No matter how tempted she was, Colin would never ask for her help. It was as if he knew what he was planning. But that doesn't matter anymore. Because something big is about to happen in the small town of Cordero. The number of monsters in Caesar has exceeded 50,000 in this month. Relying on the rat talisman's ability 30, he can create 10,000 monster soldiers in a month. 50,000 monsters, plus the adult blue dragon Delina, and himself. Caesar felt that he could easily capture the small town of Cordero. If the 4th natural disaster can't even do this, Caesar might as well disband them and become a lone ranger. Friend, do you really consider me a friend? Karen asked rhetorically. Does Miss Karen think we are not friends? Caesar smiled. Colin walked up to Caesar step by step. If you, Holy Lord, regard me as a friend, then come see me with your true face. Now is not the time, Miss Colin. By the way, remind Miss Colin that if nothing happens, it is better to leave the town of Cordero as soon as possible. Why? Tell Miss Karen a secret, and I will predict. I have seen the future, and this place in the future is purgatory on earth. Caesar left these words and disappeared in front of Karen. Colin froze in place. She never thought that the Holy Lord would say this to her. Furthermore, is the prophecy of the Holy Lord true or false? She couldn't tell the difference. But judging from the contact during this period, the Holy Lord does not seem to be a guy who can lie. If what the Holy Lord said was true, wouldn't the small town of Cordero have to? Calanmay was stunned and decided to take action. The only thing that worried her was that the Holy Master did not say a specific time. Just talk about the future, how far this future is. Instinct told Colin that this time should not be far away, otherwise there would be no need for the Holy Master to tell him this. Lair Rock. Fooled Colin Saintess again. Caesar found it very funny. Much more interesting than Elenia. This elf queen's body is obviously her own shape. But he is still so tough on his words. It seems that in order to completely degenerate her, she needs to rely on her companions. Elves are very concerned about their companions. I hope I can find an opportunity to capture a few elves in the future. Caesar's return attracted the attention of the monsters. Countless monsters raised their heads and looked up at their red dragon majesty. Nishizawa, those humans have been hanging around under our noses, and I can't help it anymore. Dilina came to the door and said. Whenever a human caravan passed by on the road, Dilina suppressed her greed and watched closely as the humans left. If it weren't for Nishizawa's orders, she couldn't help but rushed up and devoured this group of humans alive. In half a month later, you led all the monsters of the fourth natural disaster to rush forward and capture the town of Cordero. Caesar does not intend to be the main force. With Dilina here, he rushed to the front to do something. It's not fun to boss others around. All he needs to do is take command on the battlefield. No more playing in person like Melee Town. Unless you meet some powerful guy, he deserves to be devoured with a feast. Half a month. Okay. Dilina is very happy. The time was finally set. These humans, seeing this group of humans passing by in front of him was like watching pieces of delicious meat passing in front of him. Not to mention the giant dragon, no one could resist the temptation. The last half month, Caesar used up all his magic points and created nearly 6,000 monsters. They are all powerful monsters. Dilina didn't believe the excuse for the summons mentioned by Caesar at all. Know that calling comes with a price. After summoning so many monsters, how many precious things had to be sacrificed to summon them? Dilina couldn't imagine it anyway. So she thought this was Caesar's special method. I can't imagine how terrifying it would be for Caesar to grow up with so many tricks. Will he really surpass His Majesty the Dragon Queen later? Dilina was shocked by the bold idea in her heart. This day, the monster leaders who received Shizawa's notice all gathered in Zilong's lair. Except for Obi, who is still in the small town of Cordero, he is already ready to cooperate inside and outside. Your Majesty Caesar. All monster leaders were lying on the ground. Fourth Scourge warriors, it's time to show your sharp claws and fangs. Caesar said, My great Majesty Caesar, the direction you are pointing to is where our fourth natural disaster will step. As soon as these words came out, the smart Waz immediately guessed that His Majesty was going to start a war. Very good. I feel your awareness. Not far from Lair Rock, there is a human gathering place called Cordero Town. They didn't take the fourth natural disaster seriously. Human caravans coming and going constantly trampled on the territory of the fourth natural disaster. At first I didn't take it seriously, but as I tolerated it, this group of humans became even more serious. Caesar puts himself directly in a kind position. None of the monster leaders who knew His Majesty well about this took this sentence seriously. Now is the time to let them understand the power of the fourth natural disaster. All monster leaders, are you ready? Use your claws to tear the enemies in front of you into pieces. Ready, the monsters said excitedly. Attack the human town. It means they can taste this delicious human taste. Waz. Understood, My Majesty. Waz immediately rushed out of the door and blew the horn on his waist. Woohoo! A trumpet sounded. Feng Piaolong, who was hovering nearby, immediately understood the horn's message. They all raised their heads. Roar! Waves of dragon roars rang out over the rocks, echoing in the ears of every monster. All monsters know what this means. This means that the fourth natural disaster is going to start a war. It's the sound of battle. Are we finally going to start a war? Who are we fighting? It seems like the human next door. Kill them. Chop their bones. The monsters were overjoyed to put on their own armor and pick up their weapons. As usual, they all gathered at the gathering place and were arranged according to their positions. Ready to go, waiting for his leader. The chaotic evil monsters, after joining Caesar's fourth natural disaster, cannot really have any order. Otherwise, how can we manage monsters? Of course some rules are needed. Delina, these monsters are all under your command, don't let me down. Caesar said, leave it to me. What about you? Delina said in surprise. She originally thought that Caesar would personally direct such a big war. I didn't expect to entrust this important task to myself. Isn't he afraid that he will find an opportunity to run away with these monsters? From beginning to end, Caesar didn't even sign a contract with Delina. She seemed to be reassured. I'm waiting for your good news. Nishizawa said calmly. Are you really trusting me and not afraid that I will take so many monsters away with me? Delina joked. Of course she couldn't do that. I believe you won't do this, and they surrender to me, not you, Delina. The loyalty of the fourth disaster was dedicated to Zeiss, instead of Delina, so Caesar was relieved. As for whether Delina will run away, Caesar is not worried at all. He has left his mark on Delina, and no matter where Delina goes, he can catch up with Delina. Unless Delina has been away from her for more than a year. Marx will give you complete news. HMPH, I hope your monster is really that loyal to you, leave it to me. Delina snorted lightly and led the monster leaders out of the dragon's lair. Tianzi found the right opportunity to bow. Do you need a hand on Mother Lina? No need, besides, you are a jackal, how can you keep a giant dragon in check? Caesar said angrily. He saw what was wanted, but the problem was that wasn't strong enough to do it. I just need your majesty to give me some more power, I promise. Go away, greedy jackal. When Caesar heard this, he didn't know what Waz's purpose was. Angrily, he knocked Waz away with his tail. He was actually still thinking about his dragon transformation ceremony. Indeed, so far, he has never given any monster a dragon blood level dragon transformation ceremony. After this war, whoever performs best will be rewarded. Lair Rock. There was a lot of people and a lot of noise. 50,000 monsters gathered here happily, and the roars of dragons kept coming. All the monsters are ready. Although some monsters have never experienced battle, there is no fear on their faces. Monsters are never afraid of war. I wish it could be as chaotic as possible. The blue figure appeared, quieting the noisy monsters. Mistress Delina. Ziyan enjoys the highest status besides His Majesty. In addition, she is an adult dragon, and there are many monsters from her original clan. Therefore, Delina's status in Strata Rock is very high. Delina raised her chest and raised her head proudly, walked in front of the monsters, and swept her sharp dragon eyes across the monsters. Wu Yongyang's monster army is much stronger than his previous clan. Jackals, Tauren, storm dragons, manticores, bugbears. There are countless monster races. Each monster has its own special abilities. When creating some monsters, Caesar deliberately fabricated a few more monster types to enrich the number of species for the fourth natural disaster. I, Delina Fisher-Locke Prima, under the orders of the great Emperor Caesar, will lead you on a journey of destruction. Remember, our goal is to destroy, plunder, invasion. Delina's mighty voice echoed in every monster's ears. The elf Elenia stood at the door of the dragon's lair, looking at the extremely ferocious and powerful monster army in front of them. I sighed secretly in my heart. It seems that countless lives will wither today. It's a pity that I can't do anything. She can't even control her own life, let alone stop these monsters. The reason why he was able to survive in the hands of the giant dragon's eyes was not because of his dirty body. Destruction, 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 plunder, plunder, plunder. Invasion, invasion, invasion. The monsters shouted in unison, resounding throughout the sky. Listening to the voices of the monsters, the blue dragon was surrounded by streaks of blue lightning. The sound of the scales rubbing together produced high-temperature lightning. Delina raised her head and unfolded the dragon wings that covered the sky. Let's go. Boom. Dust and sand stirred. The overwhelming dust swept across the sky. Delina flew into the sky with the lightning on her body, and the monsters underground stabilized themselves and chased after her. The monsters that had conquered the big thief dragon and the wind-floating dragon all mounted their mounts and chased after Delina. So many monsters move together that the ground trembles and kicks up dust. Once the strong monsters left, a group of old, weak, sick and disabled monsters were left in Lair Rock. This group of monsters are monsters from the original tribe. After years of fighting and the erosion of time, they have lost their combat effectiveness. Caesar did not drive away these monsters, but left them in the fourth natural disaster. There is enough food in the rock formation, so there is no need to drive away these monsters. With normal aging, Horse Talisman is unable to cure them of a lifespan that has disappeared. Nishizawa doesn't have that much time to use horse charms on them every day to keep them in the best condition. If he can keep them alive in Lair Rock, he will be a kind dragon. Otherwise, according to the monster tribe in the wild, such as the old, weak, sick and disabled, when there is insufficient food. If you are good, you will be abandoned by the tribe to fend for yourself. If you are bad, you will become food for monsters. Have you set off yet? Caesar walked to the door now. Lair Yan still has his strongest fighting force left, as well as the sleeping Carolina. There is no need to worry about someone stealing your home. Master, which place do you want to attack? With so many monsters out, it was hard for Alania to imagine the other party's tragic end. Cordero Town, haven't you been there before? Caesar chuckled. Quote exclamation mark exclamation mark exclamation mark quote. Alania was shocked. Alania, don't think that I don't know anything. Let me tell you, all the monsters in Lair Rock are my eyes and ears. Do you expect them to listen to you? Stop dreaming. And Alania, I will never restrict your freedom, I said this. Caesar raised his paw and scratched Elenia's hair with his sharp fingertips. A strand of pale golden hair slowly fell to the ground. Elenia had saved several injured monsters by chance before. Those monsters were grateful to Elenia. Elenia thought she had finally won over some monsters, so under the protection of these monsters, she went to the small town of Cordello. The appearance of the elves did not attract the attention of the humans in the town of Cordero. Although elves are rare, they are not uncommon in the human world. With the existence of the elf kingdom, the number of elves has skyrocketed, and elves can be found in many human empires. Elenia had a chance to ask for help, but she didn't have that much. I just spent a day in the small town of Cordero and returned to Kengan under the protection of the monsters. Elenia also asked these monsters not to tell Caesar, and the monsters swore to guarantee this. But what she never expected was that these monsters told Caesar the news backhand. Caesar was not angry about this. It is reasonable for Elenia to yearn for the small town of Cordero. After all, Lair Rock is a paradise for monsters. She, a kind and lawful elf, has always been out of place in this layer of rock. There is a feeling of being isolated from the world. Elenia's delicate body trembled, her whole body trembling. It turns out that my little secret has been clearly seen by the dragon. Don't worry Elenia, I won't blame you, and I won't kill you, Quan. I like the smell of you very much. Caesar greedily sniffed the scent of Elenia's hair. What do you want to do? Now Elenia knows Caesar very well. Every time Caesar casually patted her buttocks, she knew what kind of action Caesar wanted. According to what Nishizawa said now, Tien Ubijiu will punish himself. You are so smart, Elenia, don't blame me for not giving you a chance. You have two choices. One choice is to kill one of your own kind. Impossible. When she heard that Caesar wanted her to kill an elf, Elenia refused without saying a word. This is definitely not something she can do. If she really does this, who is she? Is she still an elf who believes in the goddess of nature? It seems that you want to choose the second option and make the matter between you and me public. Caesar took out the video recorder from the system space again. You are despicable, shameless. Elenia's whole body trembled. Thank you for your compliments, Elenia, tell me, what is your choice now? Caesar played with the video recorder, quietly waiting for Elenia's decision. Elenia, who was in torment, slowly lowered her head. She didn't want to kill her own people, and she didn't want her people on the mainland to see her intimacy with the dragon. This is simply more uncomfortable than killing yourself. I hate you, dragon. Kill me if you can, otherwise sooner or later, I will kill you. Lilia gradually raised her head, her eyes became red and filled with hatred. His tone was stern, expressing his determination. King Li's eyes disagreed. When there is a clear gap in strength, the angry roar of the weak is just a joke to the strong. It seems that you have made your own choice, Lilia. This is your weapon, and your kindred are now imprisoned in the Lair Rock dungeon. Caesar smiled slightly. He took out a dagger from the system space and handed it to Lilia. In addition to some of the equipment of the monsters in the fourth scourge drawn by Nishizawa, many of them were made by the dwarves. In order to ensure that everyone has weapons, Caesar also specially created a group of dwarves to provide equipment for the fourth natural disaster. Elf, when did you catch Elf Jun? Lilia was stunned. Elves are not a rare species. Caesar smiled contemptuously. When the monsters were patrolling before, they also discovered an elf in an adventure team. The monster, which originally didn't want to take action, decisively captured the adventuring team after seeing the elves, and the elves were tied back to Lair Rock. An adventure team encountered trouble and failed to make much of a splash in the small town of Cordero. There is always news that something happened to the adventure team, which can only mean they are unlucky. Dungeon. Under the dim firelight, a male elf who had been tortured into a state of disgrace was tied to a pillar, with dried blood on his face and messy hair covered with dirty dust. His head was hanging weakly, and he looked like he was going to die soon. Kill me, ugly evil monster. Hearing the sound of the dungeon door opening, the male elf said subconsciously. His squad had all been killed. Only oneself is left to survive. Although he didn't know why these monsters didn't kill or eat him, his spirit had been tortured to the point of collapse since he had been tied to the pillar. Standing in front of him, Lilia's hands holding the dagger began to tremble when she saw her kindred look like this. Seeing that there was no movement from the other party for a long time, Zhang Elf raised his head in confusion. When he saw that the person standing in front of him was not an ugly monster, but a beautiful elf, his gray face finally lit up. You are an elf. Great, are you here to save me? The male elf said excitedly. There were no signs of injury on the opponent's body, and the way he held the dagger suggested that he had just experienced a battle. Being able to walk into the dungeon so neatly means that the other party should be here to save him. May I have your name? Lilia slowly put down the dagger and put the right hand holding the dagger on the back of her waist. The male elf didn't take Lilia's behavior seriously. As elves who are united and friendly, male elves never feel that being of the same race will harm them. My name is Kaidi. Please save me. I was accidentally caught by a monster. Kaidi said excitedly. Lilia approached him step by step, and he seemed to see the dawn of life waving to him. Until Lilia stopped in front of Kaidi. Kaidi, I remember this name. Can you do me a favor, Kaidi? What's the matter? Kaidi was stunned. Something seems to be wrong with the female elf in front of her. The tone was slightly shaky. Phew. Next moment, Kaidi's eyes widened and he stared at Lilia in disbelief, his pupils dilated. Lilia's dagger mercilessly penetrated his chest, and he wanted to ask Lilia loudly why he did this. But he noticed Lilia's face. Lilia raised her head, her beautiful face was already soaked with tears, and her eyes showed pain. Grief. Kaidi could feel this sentiment. All the questions disappeared under the miserable crying face of Lilia. Kaidi forced a smile. I believe you. You have your own reasons. Finished. Kaidi took his own life. Listening to Kaidi's last words, Lilia tremblingly let go of the dagger, covered her mouth tightly with her hands stained with blood. Don't let your cries come out. She is really in pain, very painful. She originally thought that Kaidi would scold and curse her at the end of his life, but she never thought that Kaidi would say these words to her. What a kind elf. Even if he is killed by you, he will not have any resentment towards you. Such a beautiful and kind race, they are not as despicable as our 5-color dragons, right? A shrunken Caesar appeared behind Lilia. The video recorder in his hand was playing repeatedly the scene where Lilia had just killed Kaidi. Evil dragon. When Lilia heard the sound, she realized that she had been fooled again. She turned around angrily and stared at Caesar with red eyes. Live well, Lilia, at least pass on this name, and don't let the traces of the Lilia tribe disappear completely in this world. Caesar left these words. just disappeared. Elenia's matter is temporarily resolved. It's time to check on Delina and the others. Caesar's departure caused Elenia to collapse on the ground in despair. She was forced to plot by Caesar step by step, and finally reached the point of killing her own people. Am I still a believer in the goddess of nature? Is I still a member of the elves? How is she any different from an evil creature? Elenia turned her head and looked at Kaidi's body. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't mean it. Cordero Town. Countless monsters swarmed. The strong Tauren and the big thief dragon monster knight were the first to bear the brunt and rushed to the front of the team. Carrying huge wooden piles, hammering the city wall. The famously strong city walls became crumbling. In the sky, under the control of the monster, the wind-drifting dragon cooperates with the manticore and chimera to occupy the sky. Storm, frost, and fire fell from the sky. It made the human soldiers on the city wall miserable. As soon as the crossbow arrow in his hand shoots down, the opponent's next attack will destroy both people and food. Fortunately, the small town of Cordero still has the forbidden magic left by the powerful great demon mage. Therefore, monsters in the sky cannot directly invade the town and can only hover in the airspace on the city wall. If you want to move forward, you must break this magical restriction. The sound of fighting resounded throughout the field. The swordmaster Pedri, who was guarding the town of Cordero, looked at the scene in front of him and shouted, "What on earth is going on? Where did these monsters come from?" He didn't receive any news at all. You have to know how such a huge group of monsters could develop silently. Did it come from somewhere else? Commander Pedri, we are coming. When Pedri took over the army and began to command the army to fight, Obi led the 4 members of the adventure team to Pedri's side. Why are you here? It's very dangerous here. You should get out of here quickly. There are so many monsters, and the other party's master hasn't shown up yet. I suspect it's a 5-color dragon. Seeing the 5 people coming, Pedri quickly persuaded the 5 people to leave the town of Cordero. At this moment, everyone in the town, under the order of the army, began to leave the dangerous place of Cordero town. It would be nice if they were there to support us. We are members of the small town of Cordero. How can we leave at this time? Commander Pedri, if you need our help, please feel free to ask us. Obi's eyes lit up. Take advantage of this opportunity. Patting his chest, he came to Pedri. The life and death talisman hidden in the sleeve is already ready. You are worthy of being a hero of the town of Cordero, but you, what are you doing? When Obi slapped his hand on Pedri's shoulder, Pedri seemed to feel something in an instant, and suddenly swung out a sword energy. This 10-meter-long golden sword energy passed through the side of Obi's face and struck a house behind. The house was cut off one floor in an instant and collapsed to the ground. Just now, Pedri noticed a strange force entering his body. This is why he subconsciously used stress tactics against Obi. Fortunately, he had no doubts about Obi's identity. Worried about accidental injury, he could turn his sword blade. Otherwise, with this blow, Obi could be cut into 2 and killed on the spot. I didn't do anything. This is a little gift I gave you, Commander Pedri. I hope you like it. You idiot. The powerful Obi grabbed the collars of 2 people with one hand and quickly jumped away with the 4 adventurers present. Speak clearly. What gift? Pedri's pupils trembled, and his intuition told him that there was something wrong with these 5 guys. As soon as he took a step forward, he felt a little itchy on his body. He scratched it a little but didn't take it seriously. Now is not the time to worry about these 5 guys. We must first stop the invasion of monsters. Under the city wall. 3-2-1. Hit. 3-2-1. Hit. His grandma's. There is a magic restriction here. You can't break it open with brute force alone. Where is the sacrifice? Kaza stood on top of the wooden stake and shouted for the priest to come quickly and release the spell. The monsters behind him lay on the ground one after another. The arrows shot down by humans from above had a great impact on the monsters. There are also many arrows carrying fire and poison. The idiots who sacrificed themselves have already rushed over. Let me come. Alistar pushed away the monsters in front of him. Touching his horns, he stepped heavily on the ground and aimed at the city gate to use his own collision. After becoming a dragon-turned Tauren, Alistar's collision was no longer the same as before. The huge charging figure was accompanied by a whistling wind, and the body that rushed over was burning with a blazing flame. The frightened monsters quickly dispersed, leaving a 10-meter wide open space for Alistar. Boom! The generated wave spread instantly, and the thorns growing on the back of Alistar's head flew out, piercing the city gate. The power of the flames successfully shattered the magic restriction in front of them, causing the entire city wall to shake a bit. The city gate was shattered like a spider web, as if it was just one final step away. Alistar looked at his masterpiece and blew out a lot of white air from the cow's nose. Kaz's eyes lit up. Quick! Hit us quickly! The monsters reacted quickly. He lifted the wooden stake and hit it. Boom! The nearly 10-meter-high city gate was instantly smashed and collapsed. The monsters swarmed in, relying on this loophole, and got in all at once. The magic prohibition underneath is destroyed. The magic restriction in the sky also broke. Waz, who was driving the Fengdiaolong, was overjoyed. Boys! Charge forward, harvest your own spoils. They were as early as in the sky. You can see a large group of humans rushing towards it. If you think about it with your brain, you can roughly guess that this should be the place to leave. Waz looked extremely anxious. It's a pity that he was stopped by this magic restriction. Now that the magic restriction is finally gone, the monsters are about to start their own plunder. The monsters in the sky rushed back like crazy. See the archers and mages who broke the restrictions. Quickly shoot bows, arrows and magic to block the invasion of monsters. They must ensure that the people of the town leave safely and must not let monsters touch them. This is their mission. Alistar, who had just broken through the city gate below, encountered a problem. Two sword kings blocked his way. Originally relying on the power bestowed by His Majesty, Alistar believed that he could easily deal with these two humans. Unexpectedly, after the fight, Alistar put away his contempt. These two humans are very powerful. If it were his own, he would probably be killed directly by the other party. A small human being can actually explode with such powerful power. The appearance of this Tauren has changed, a bit like a dragon. Dragon transformation. Is there a giant dragon? Two knowledgeable swordsmen recognized the changes in Alistar. It seemed to confirm their thoughts. Roar! A dragon roar echoed in the sky. A giant blue dragon appears. Dilina fell from the sky like a god carrying lightning, and the crackling lightning swept across. In an instant, countless human soldiers were hit, their whole bodies were paralyzed in pain, and then they fell to the ground helplessly. Without Caesar's abnormal physique, Dilina would not be stupid enough to fall straight from the sky. You must know that the body of an adult dragon is very heavy. In addition, even the giant dragon itself would be unable to bear the impact from such a high height. Dilina didn't want to injure herself before fighting. It's the blue dragon, the adult blue dragon. It turned out to be a blue dragon attack. This blue dragon actually dares to invade the Toot Empire. Doesn't she know the name of our empire? As everyone knows, the human empire doesn't want to mess with even the giant dragon. After all, being able to become an empire means that the other party has the power to slay dragons. The dragon himself didn't want to mess with such a being. Sword Master Pedri narrowed his eyes. He told the adjutants around him to be careful, and he came to Dilina with an elite force of 100 people. If the huge body of the adult dragon moves even slightly, it will be a disaster-level attack. Even if he couldn't defeat Dilina, he still had to hold Dilina back first and not let Dilina cause more damage. Insignificant humans, do you think you can become my enemy just by relying on your strength? It's ridiculous. Dilina looked down at the people surrounding her and smiled disdainfully. Evil blue dragon, I tell you, this is the territory of the Toot Empire. I advise you to leave here quickly, otherwise you will face the pursuit of the Empire. Hunting dragons is hard work. It may even take a lot of effort. But since the blue dragon wants to do this, the Toot Empire doesn't mind spending some time and energy. The Thoth Empire. Dilina thought deeply. Caesar, before you attacked the other party, why didn't you mention that the other party was the Toot Empire? As one of the strongest human empires on the mainland, their existence is recorded in the dragon heritage. Nowadays, the corpses of giant dragons are still piled in the treasury of the imperial capital of the Toot Empire. Dragons are arrogant, but they will not be arrogant enough to provoke the human empire for no reason. A legendary human being, that's no joke. What's more, Some humans have been gifted by the gods and possess divine weapon, which also has the power to slay dragons. If the dragon really had no one to fight against, it would have ruled the continent long ago. It is also impossible for humans to occupy the places with the richest resources. If you feel scared, then get out of here. Otherwise, you will be hunted by the Empire. Seeing that the opponent seemed to be shocked, Pedri pursued the victory. Afraid? Afraid? Are you kidding me? That guy Nishizawa isn't afraid, so why should I be afraid? Delina originally wanted to retreat. But after hearing Pedri's words, Delina became angry. Why is it that Caesar, the Red Dragon, is not afraid, but she, Delina, is afraid? Besides, I am now a slave, and even if the other party pursues me, I should take Nishizawa with me. Even if you are the human empire, you cannot kill that freak Nishizawa. Delina, who had fought with Caesar, suddenly opened her mouth. Roar. Blue lightning shot out from her mouth. Facing the surrounding current, Pedri was only frightened by Delina's sudden attack, and quickly used his sword energy. The sword light circulated, splitting the lightning that went straight to the facade in front of him. While resisting the lightning, Pedri was even faster than the lightning. He used his sword skills to save other soldiers and help them resist the lightning attack. When Delina saw Pedri's speed, she knew that this human being was not simple. The sword saint level has other existences, but it is second only to the sword god. The sword god is a figure at the pinnacle of swordsmanship and a representative of legendary swordsmen. Pedri's strength is naturally not simple. This is also the reason why the Toot Empire sent Pedri to garrison the small town of Cordero. Delina continued to attack, rubbing her scales to increase lightning to prevent anyone from getting close to her. A series of blue rings appeared around her. Next moment, countless thunder dragon language magics were released from the magic ring. The destructive power of the adult dragon's thunder magic is not that great. Even if Pedri wanted to block, he couldn't block them all. He could only watch the powerful magic attacks bombing the city wantonly. Countless houses collapsed and piles of rubble were piled up. Billowing smoke appeared on the battlefield. The roaring sound of explosions echoed in my ears. You, blue dragon. Pedri was furious. His figure was so fast that Delina couldn't figure out his figure clearly. The next second, Pedri appeared next to her. Pedri, who was about to attack with his sword, was knocked back by lightning. You can't get close to me, dirty and lowly human. Delina mocked. Do you really think everyone is that freak like Caesar? In other words, when the freak Nishizawa was fighting with him, he didn't care about the lightning on his body at all. It is obviously a red dragon, but it is as immune to lightning as a blue dragon. I will definitely chop off your head. The other side. The two sword masters left traces of blood on Alistar's body. The light of the sword and the shadow of the sword. The sharp blade was not something Alistar could bear. Don't get entangled with this Tauren anymore, Commander Pedri needs our support. You go first and I'll deal with this Tauren. You can't go anywhere. Alistar gasped and blocked a human sword king who wanted to leave. Faced with such a pestering Alistar, a sword king said, then I'll kill you. Light curtain flow beheading light blade coming. A sword king couldn't bear it anymore. He directly released his ultimate move. The sword blade in his hand was filled with golden light and aimed at Alistar's heart. Boom! The light blade pierced Alistar's chest, and the light blade extended all the way, leaving a nearly 100-meter-long mark behind Alistar. Alistar vomited blood and stood motionless. The two sword masters quickly retreated from him. Anyone with a discerning eye can see that Alistar is bound to die, and the top priority is to support Commander Pedri. Quote. Alistar's eyes widened in disbelief. Death appeared in his eyes. The pupils began to gradually dilate. He was actually going to die on this battlefield. Unwilling. Will the Tauren who move forward bravely also despair? At this time, a powerful healing force brought Alistar back from the brink of life and death. The hollow chest was immediately repaired completely. Except for the missing layer of breastplate, the skin on the chest was restored to its original state without any scars. Just when Alistar came back to his senses and was confused. Hearing the familiar voice in his ears, he subconsciously knelt on the ground. Your Majesty Caesar. Don't underestimate humans, Alistar. They are one of the leaders of this world. How can they be so weak? Caesar said. Many powerful monsters look down on humans. That's because they have only encountered the weak among humans and have never encountered the strong among humans. Human beings not only possess wisdom, but also possess considerable strength. Thank you for your rescue, Your Majesty Caesar, I understand. Alistar lowered his head in shame. Okay, let's go help elsewhere on the battlefield. Nishizawa did not show up and continued to use his invisible form to observe the battlefield. He needs to use blood to build an army of monsters. He doesn't care about the loss, he can create it anyway. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.